Chapter 728. She could come back. Although this jade bracelet was not a treasure that could be passed down from generation to generation, its significance was incomparable to other things. This was the inheritance between 3 generations. It could be passed down from generation to generation. Maybe it could be passed down from generation to generation and become a legend. For Lin Su, this decision of the old lady had already established her position in the Qin family in the future. Even if Qin Chang'an did not agree at that time, he had to get through the old lady first. This jade bracelet was the symbol of the Qin family's daughter-in-law. No matter how big the challenges and competitions were in the future, Lin Su was already in an invincible position. Lin Su did not refuse in the end. When the old lady put the jade bracelet on her wrist, Lin Su instantly felt the weight of trust and affection. It seemed that even if she had not married Qin Shing, she had already become the daughter-in-law of the Qin family and the Zhu family. The old lady squinted her eyes and smiled kindly. Lin Su lowered her head and looked at the jade bracelet on her wrist. The Qin family and the Zhu family were really good to her from the bottom of their hearts. They did not have any dissatisfaction or complaint at all. Even though there had been those things in the past, it seemed that this was the education and foundation of a big family. The bracelet was so beautiful. Lin Su sighed from the bottom of her heart. She had already decided to wear the jade bracelet every day in the future, no matter what kind of occasion she attended. Lin Su could not help but think about how the mother-in-law, whom she had never met and was destined to never meet, looked like when she wore this jade bracelet. She must have been very beautiful. At that time, the mother-in-law should be about the same age as her now. She was in her prime and incomparably brilliant. Lin Su seemed to recall that Qin Shing had once shown her a photo of his mother when she was young. Although that photo was a little old, Lin Su felt that she was inferior to her at that time. It was rare to see such a peerless beauty in that era. It was no wonder that future father-in-law had never married since then. The old lady gave the jade bracelet to Lin Su. It seemed that she had completed a task. She felt much more at ease in an instant. Lin Su became closer to the old lady. There was no sense of distance between them at all. It was like getting along with her own grandmother. The old man and the young girl chatted in the living room. Lin Su asked a lot of stories about her mother-in-law. The old lady was no longer as sad as before. She talked a lot about her daughter, including how Qin Chang'an pursued her in the beginning, how the Zhus agreed to this marriage, and so on. Time passed by unknowingly. The old lady was in high spirits and seemed to have endless things to say. Lin Su also listened with great interest. The living room was full of laughter. It was not until the medical staff reminded the old lady that it was time to rest that the old lady got up reluctantly. Lin Su naturally comforted the old lady and said that she would come over to chat with her grandmother another day. Only then did the old lady go to rest happily. Qin Shing only left the company in the evening. Today could be considered as a busy day. He had finished all the backlog of work for the past few days. At the same time, he had held a few meetings to listen to the progress of the reorganization and so on. In this way, when Vice President Wang arrived in Shanghai tomorrow, Qin Shing would know how to report the work. Wang was to be. But no to be was. Wang to Wang. Qin to. But he had to be. But to be. But to be. But to. After leaving the company, Qin Sheng went directly to Middle Huaihai Road. Qin happened to call him at noon and asked him if he was busy recently. Qin Sheng did not know what this woman was thinking. She must be thinking about when Jiang Xianbang would return to Shanghai. After all, it was only a few days before the end of the month. Based on the current situation, it seemed that Qin Sheng did not have time to go to Hong Kong to pick up Jiang Xianbang. But Jiang Xianbang's problem had been solved. Even if he came back now, there would be no problem. Therefore, Qin Sheng was going to meet Qing and tell her about the situation. If she had time these 2 days, she could directly go to Hong Kong to pick up Jiang Xianbang and go back to China. As for the rest of the matters, they could wait until Jiang Xianbang came back. Qin Xing could not care about that now. Qing said that she would wait for Qin Xing to have dinner. When Qin Xing arrived at the old foreign-style house, he found that Qing was not there. After asking the old housekeeper, he found out that Qing was cooking in person today. Qin Xing was puzzled that this otherworldly little fairy could cook. Wasn't she afraid of setting the kitchen on fire? When Qin Xing ran to the kitchen, although it was much better than he had imagined, it was not so good. The kitchen was in a mess. Qing who was wearing an apron and had her hair tied up in a ponytail, was making soup with a recipe. Qin Xing did not know whether to laugh or cry. Qing seemed to feel that someone was behind her. She subconsciously turned around and saw it was Qin Xing. She smiled and said, "You're here so soon? Dinner is not ready yet. Wait in the living room outside. I've made a pot of tea. I'll call you when it's ready." Qin Xing was speechless and said, "What are you doing? By the time you're ready, it will be dawn." "Okay, I'll take you out to eat." After saying that, Qin Xing pulled Qing out of the kitchen. Not every woman was suitable to cook, and not every woman could be a good wife and mother. A woman like Qing was destined to have little to do with the kitchen, at least for now. After Qing came out, she said with some grievances, "Do you think I'm stupid? I just want to learn. After I master it, I can cook for you." Well, Qin Xing was a little surprised, but he still comforted her. "Well, I think it's more interesting to listen to you play the zither, the piano, the violin, or burning incense and making tea than to watch you cook. Don't make trouble." "Really?" Qing sat next to Qin Xing and took the initiative to hold his arm. There was a light fragrance rising up, but it was covered by the smell of oil. Ever since what had happened last time, Qing and Qin Xing had completely uncovered the past and started to get along with each other again. Qing seemed to have regarded herself as Qin Xing's woman. Whether it was because she felt that she could not leave Qin Xing now or because she had promised Qin Xing before she did so, Qin Xing did not choose to accept or refuse. He could only discuss this matter after Jiang Xianbang came back. Now it was like this. At least he would not hurt this woman's heart. Qin Xing nodded heavily and said, "It's true. You don't know how charming you were at that time. It seemed that the whole world's attention was on you. If you have any concert next time, remember to invite me. I want to see how you conquer all the audience." Which woman did not want to be praised? Not to mention being praised by the man she liked? No matter how otherworldly the goddess was, no matter how high and mighty the iceberg beauty, after meeting the man she liked, her performance was no different from that of an ordinary little girl. This was the charm of love, which made people unable to extricate themselves. It seems that there will be a concert next week, at the Shanghai Concert Hall. I will buy the tickets for you later. Don't stand me up, Qing said conveniently. This was her life. Their school often held various exchange activities. Qin Xing could still agree to such a small matter. He smiled and nodded. Then he said, "Now you can go upstairs and pack up. I will take you to dinner. I don't know if you are hungry. Anyway, I am starving." Qing was amused by Qin Xing. She covered her mouth and smiled. "Then wait for me for a while. I will come down right away." After Qing left, Qin Xing muttered, "She looked so beautiful when she smiled. Why did she always put on a straight face before? The world had lost such a beautiful scenery." He really did not understand women. Although Qing said that she would wait for a while, Qin Xing still waited for a full hour. It seemed that most women were still the same on this point. No wonder so many business tycoons always liked to sum up women's rules to make money. This should be the first time that Qin Xing accompanied her to dinner. Qing had subconsciously regarded this as a date. So how could she not clean up well? Moreover, she had been busy in the kitchen for a long time just now. Her body was covered with the smell of oil and smoke. At least she should take a bath and change clothes. To be honest, Ching was already very fast. Most men waiting for a date with a woman, if they did not confirm the time in advance, they would have to wait for 1 or 2 hours. Even 3 hours were common. Ching wore a very cold gray knitted dress with cropped sleeves. She was relatively thin, so her figure was more obvious. In short, she looked like a fairy, not to mention that she had this kind of temperament. You're dressed so beautifully. I'm really afraid that I can take you out. If I can't bring you back smoothly, you might be snatched away by some man. Qin Sheng praised Ching-er's beautiful dress in a euphemistic way. Ching-er was very obedient and said, "No, no one will snatch me away from you. I am your woman. What are you worried about?" After Ching-er said this, Qin Sheng almost spat out a mouthful of tea. When did Ching-er speak so directly? He did not notice it before. Ching-er also seemed to feel it. She was very embarrassed and blushed. Anyway, she had been seen in the most humble way in front of Qin Sheng last time. From then on, she did not care about these things. Ching-er said carefully, for fear of making Qin Sheng angry, "Then I go up and change clothes?" Qin Sheng was originally teasing her. He directly stood up and took Ching-er's hand to go out. He said, "Okay, I am joking with you. This dress is very suitable for your temperament. But if we don't set off soon, I will really be starved to death by you. Then you will be miserable in the future." In fact, Qin Sheng quite liked to be with Ching-er. When he was with Ching-er, he felt different from other women. He did not have any pressure or thoughts. It seemed that he could let his whole body be so free and carefree. Because Ching-er was also such a person. Yang Dania drove them to eat. As for the women who appeared around Qin Sheng, he had long been used to it. He still did not understand the world of the big shot. This was a pure vegetarian restaurant. Ching-er often came here to eat. When she heard that Qin Sheng wanted to eat something light, she chose this restaurant. At least in the eyes of outsiders, they were really a pair of really good lovers. No wonder Jiang Xianbang wanted to matchmake them. When they were eating, Qin Sheng told Ching-er about Jiang Xianbang and asked her to take a leave of absence to go to Hong Kong. She could directly pick Uncle Jiang up. Ching-er was a little surprised and said, "You are not going?" Qin Sheng replied honestly, "I really want to go, but there are too many things recently. I have to keep an eye on them. I can only wait for you to come back, then I will hold a welcome dinner for Uncle Jiang." Ching-er was a little unhappy at first, but at that moment she felt that Qin Sheng seemed to be very tired. She also knew that Qin Sheng was really busy at that moment, or she would definitely go. Since Uncle Jiang could come back, Ching-er did not intend to delay it for too long. She planned to go to Hong Kong to pick Uncle Jiang up the day after tomorrow after arranging things. Thinking that Uncle Jiang would be back soon, Ching-er was extremely happy. After dinner, there was no more activity. Ching-er's daily routine was more regular, and she was also very self-disciplined. After Qin Sheng sent her home, he chatted with her for a while and was ready to leave. At this time, Chang Baji called and said that Wu Yongchuan had already replied and that they would meet tonight. The place and time had been confirmed. He asked for Qin Sheng's opinion, and naturally, Qin Sheng agreed without hesitation. Chapter 729. Laughing and crying. Wu Yongchuan's response was much faster than Qin Sheng had expected. Qin Sheng thought he would have to wait for 2 or 3 days, but he did not expect him to reply tonight. It was obvious that this man was more anxious than them. After all, he had ambition and desire, but now he could not release it. He also had a belly full of resentment. Of course, he could not wait. Qin Sheng replied to Chang Baji, saying that tonight was the time. As for the specific plan, they would inform and arrange it later. He still had something to do. After Qin Sheng left Middle Huaihai Road, he went to a bar on the Bund overlooking the night view of Lujiazui. Ms. Chong Sam, Xue Qinyan, was waiting for him there. After knowing that he was back in Shanghai, she asked to meet him immediately. Qin Xing thought that Xue Qinyan had something to do, but in fact, Xue Qinyan just missed him. There were many popular bars on the Bund, and they were famous for their prominent positions that allowed them to enjoy the night view of the Bund. Every night, it was crowded and lively. However, the bar that Xue Qinyan chose was relatively quiet. After all, the threshold was relatively high. Whether it was membership or spending, it automatically avoided a lot of trouble. But even so, Xue Qinyan did not sit here for long. She met several men who took the initiative to strike up a conversation, but they were directly ignored by Xue Qinyan. It was not until Qin Xing, the main character, appeared that they gave up trying to strike up a conversation. Obviously, this elegant beauty already had someone in her heart. "Sister, are you in a bad mood today? Why do you want to drink today?" Qin Xing sat down and asked with a smile. Xue Qinyan came directly from the company, so she was still wearing her work attire, a white chiffon top, a gray narrow skirt, and high heels. She was so sexy and charming that many beauties here looked inferior. Women always liked to compare themselves with each other. Xue Qinyan did not drink red wine today. She actually chose single malt whiskey, which shocked Qin Xing. He would not believe that she was fine. "Why? I can't drink with you if there's nothing. You are getting busier and busier now. You don't even have time to drink with me. When you return to Beijing, Chairman Qin, I'm afraid that it will be difficult for me to even see you." Xue Qinyan teased Qin Xing. But this was also the truth. Qin Xing did not have many things to do in Shanghai. She still had time to meet and chat. However, after Qin Xing returned to Beijing, not to mention the fatal problem of distance, it would be very difficult for them to see each other after Qin Xing took over. Many, many feelings that were once incomparably intimate later gradually faded because of distance and time. Every time she thought of this, Xue Qinyan felt a little emotional and did not know how to deal with it. The foundation of the Xue family was in Zhujiang and Shanghai. When Qin Xing was in Shanghai, she could still help him occasionally. However, after Qin Xing returned to Beijing, she really could not help him. This kind of distance could not be made up by hard work. Thinking of this, Xue Qinyan smiled bitterly. She picked up the glass and drank it in one gulp. The way she drank was very elegant, especially at the moment when she raised her head. The curve of her neck was like a work of art. At this moment, Qin Xing was not in the mood to appreciate it. He frowned and said, "Sister, what's going on? Don't drink alone. If something really happened, tell me. Did someone bully you?" "Yeah, I was bullied. Are you going to do anything about it?" Xue Qinyan put down the cup, raised her head and stared at Qin Xing, pretending to be wronged. This was the first time that Xue Qinyan showed this in front of Qin Xing. Anyone would have tender and protective feelings for the fairer sex, let alone Xue Qinyan. Qin Xing said very seriously, "Of course. Sister, tell me who it is. I'll go and vent your anger for you. He even dares to bully you. Is he really tired of living?" "A young talent from Beijing. He is very powerful. Recently, he has been pestering me every day. I can't refuse him because of the big boss. Why don't you be my boyfriend and let me refuse him?" Xue Qinyan deliberately made things difficult for Qin Xing and wanted to see how he would respond. As for that young talent, she had already sent him away. At this moment, Qin Xing did not care what the consequences were. At least he had to show his determination. He immediately stood up and said, "Sister, today you have the final say. As long as it can make you happy." After that, Qin Xing pulled Xue Qinyan away to find that young talent and reason with him. Xue Qinyan was almost done. She could only say, Okay, I'm just kidding. How can I be bullied? If he wants to bully me, he has to have the guts. Are you really okay? Don't worry about me. I'll definitely vent your anger." Qin Xing was confused. Anyway, he felt that Xue Qinyan was very strange today. After Xue Qinyan pulled Qin Shing to sit down, she said, "I'm really okay. I just want to drink. You can drink with me for a while. Anyway, it's not far from home. I'll go back directly to rest in a while." After Qin Shing sat down, he drank a glass of wine and said, "As long as you're okay. Not to mention drinking, even if I have to climb a mountain of swords and go down a sea of fire, I will accompany you." After sitting down, Qin Shing drank a glass of wine and said, Anyway, Xue Qinyan was quite satisfied with Qin Shing's attitude. She did not tease Qin Shing anymore. She had not seen Qin Shing for a few days, and should enjoy this rare opportunity to be alone. "How did things go in Hangzhou? Why are you back so soon? Fang Jianping even called me and said that he was going to ask you out for a meal. I didn't expect you to come back yesterday." Xue Qinyan changed the topic and asked. Qin Shing poured himself another glass of wine. He did not know what kind of whiskey it was. Tasted pretty good. He said thoughtfully, "There were many twists and turns, but the ending was better than I expected. So it was considered smooth. That's why I came back in advance." "That's good. How was your conversation with Fang Jianping? It seems that he has already approved of you. There are not many things that can make him take the initiative to treat you." Xue Qinyan nodded and said, "As long as everything went smoothly for Qin Shing." Although Fang Jianping was very good, Qin Shing did not have a deep contact with him. Moreover, he was chatting with Xue Qinyan. Qin Shing did not hide anything. He smiled and said, "Approved of me, or approved of my background? He did not approve of me like this in the beginning. You are so narrow-minded. This society is so realistic. If you want to be on equal footing with others, you must have this ability," Xue Qinyan said casually. Then she raised her glass and clinked with Qin Shing. Qin Shing laughed and said, "I was just joking. It has been more than half a year since I returned to the Qin family. How can I not understand these principles? Moreover, I have experienced a lot in the past, so I gradually got used to it." Xue Qinyan nodded. She did not want to talk too much about Fang Jianping. She knew this childhood friend better than anyone else. Xue Qinyan stared at the night view of Pudong in the distance and said, "How long can you stay in Shanghai?" Qin Shing did not know what she meant. He thought that there was a hidden meaning in Xue Qinyan's words. He answered truthfully, "If it goes well, I will go back after the Shanghai company's restructuring is completed. If it doesn't go well, once something happens to my family, I am afraid I will have to go back in the next second. Most of the things I heard about your family are rumors that have been spread several times. I also asked the big boss and my brother about it, but they seemed to be afraid and did not say much. So I can't help much," Xue Qinyan said with some emotion. Qin Shing shook his head and said, "Sister, you have helped me a lot. There will be a time when a person's strength is exhausted. Even I can't do anything about our family's affairs. Even my uncle is unwilling to help, let alone other people. It seems that the rumors outside are true. Your two families have always been at odds with each other. The Zhu family is really unwilling to help." Xue Qinyan did not expect that this matter would finally be verified by Qin Shing. Qin Shing smiled bitterly and said, "Sister, you are not an outsider, so I will not hide it. If the two families were not at odds, do you think those demons and monsters would dare to hit you when you are down? The two families are not on the same path. If the Zhu family and the Qin family did not keep a distance in those years, they would not have the status they have today." Gratitude and resentment," Xue Qinyan said with some emotion. What exactly happened in those years, only the people involved knew. Qin Shing did not want to talk about this topic. It was all the things of the older generation. He raised his glass and said, "Sister, let's not talk about this. Let's continue drinking." "Drink," Xue Qinyan said very straightforwardly. Anyway, Xue Qinyan was different from others. After drinking a bottle of whiskey, Xue Qinyan's face was slightly red, while Qin Sheng was fine. After all, he was a person who had experienced all kinds of drinking. After staying with Qin Sheng for a while, Xue Qinyan had almost vented her feelings in her heart. So she smiled and said, "It's late. Let's go back. I'm a little tired." Qin Sheng thought that he had something to do later, so he did not say much. He replied, "Sister, then I will send you back." Xue Qinyan nodded with a smile. After Qin Sheng paid the bill, she stood up and left with Qin Sheng. She directly held Qin Sheng's arm and leaned her head on his shoulder. It was unknown whether she was drunk or something. This seemed to be the first time that Xue Qinyan had taken the initiative. Xue Qinyan looked very indifferent, but Qin Sheng's body subconsciously stiffened. The men on the scene probably envied Qin Sheng. They might say that he was lucky with women, but Qin Sheng knew that it was hard to enjoy this luck. But he could not reject Xue Qinyan, because he did not know how much courage it took for Xue Qinyan to do this. After all, he had known Xue Qinyan for so long, but he had never seen Xue Qinyan being so intimate with other men. The two left the restaurant in this posture, even when they got into the car. Yang Daniu was almost stunned. He really wanted to say, "Brother Qin, you are too much. You should at least care about my feelings as a single dog." It had been a day of continuous blows. In the end, he could only choose to ignore it. He quietly asked for the address and drove. But how could Qin Sheng explain to Yang Daniu? Along the way, Xue Qinyan had been leaning on Qin Sheng's shoulder in the same posture. She did not say anything. She just closed her eyes and felt Qin Sheng's heartbeat and temperature. It seemed that this was enough. Qin Sheng also did not know what to say. He felt that whatever he said would be awkward. It was better to be tactful and shut up. Anyway, the atmosphere in the car was very strange and ambiguous. Not long after, they finally arrived at Green City, Huangpu Bay. Qin Sheng let out a long sigh of relief. After sending Xue Qinyan to the entrance of the community, he said, "Sister, then I will send you here. Go back and rest early." "Don't you want to go up and sit?" Xue Qinyan said, not knowing if she did it on purpose or if she was revealing her true feelings. To other men, this sentence was like the sound of heaven. But to Qin Sheng, it was like thunder. He was so scared that he was almost dumbfounded. He quickly said, "Sister, I have something to do, I will leave first." After that, Qin Sheng did not care about anything anymore. He turned around and ran away. He was afraid that something would happen if he was slow. If this continued, it would be strange if nothing happened. Xue Qinyan looked at Qin Sheng's embarrassed look. She held her stomach and almost laughed out loud. As she laughed, it seemed that tears really flowed out. Would it really become a regret? Chapter 730. Parting on Bad Terms? Ever since she revealed her true feelings last time, Xue Qinyan's feelings for Qin Sheng were like a flood that broke the dam and could not be controlled. During this period of time, she fell into a state of self-entanglement, which made Xue Qinyan very worried and troubled. She never thought that one day she would become like this because of a man. This seemed to be what she hated the most in the past, let alone at this age. What was even more unexpected was that it would be a man who was a few years younger than her. After returning home, Xue Qinyan changed into her pajamas and sat on the balcony. She opened a bottle of red wine and stared blankly while drinking. No one knew what she was thinking about. She just sat quietly like this. The cool night breeze blew away the stuffy heat of the day and also messed up Xue Qinyan's hair and skirt. Her pajamas were very sexy, with a deep V and a high slit. However, it was destined that no one could enjoy this beautiful scenery. It was somewhat regretful. If it was really so regretful, then she would live like this for the rest of her life. Anyway, no one would force her to do something she did not like. Her old father was very tolerant to her and only hoped that she could live happily. Her brother seemed to be the same. Although he would not say a few words occasionally, he still respected her thoughts. After Qin Shing escaped from Green City Huangpu Bay, he more or less had some lingering fears. He did not know whether Xue Qinyan did this on purpose or not. Anyway, Qin Sheng was really afraid. He was more and more confused about how to face Xue Qinyan in the future. Things like feelings really made people very entangled. Qin Sheng's troubles were naturally different from others. It was also difficult for others to understand Qin Sheng. Some even thought that Qin Sheng was a playboy. Qin Sheng was too lazy to care about these. The place that Chang Baji had agreed to meet was Dianshan Lake in Qingpu district. This place was really far. If they ran a little further, they would be in Suzhou. Of course, Qin Sheng understood that this kind of caution was not a problem. After all, for Wu Yongchuan's side, from the beginning of contact with Qin Sheng, they were risking their lives. Once they were discovered by Third Master Wu, they would end up very badly. As for Chang Baji's side, he had arranged everything for Qin Sheng. It was still the same routine as before. After changing cars at a few places, they headed towards Qingpu. They were very clear that their whereabouts were definitely being monitored by the other party. If they did not do this, it would be very easy for them to be discovered. It was the same for Chang Baji's side. They had to be very, very careful. In the end, Qin Sheng and Chang Baji met by Dianshan Lake. Chang Baji was alone. Bao Fan did not come out this time. Qin Sheng only brought Yang Dainyu with him. If Wu Yongchuan betrayed them, he would be walking right into the trap. However, be it Qin Sheng or Chang Baji, neither of them believed that Wu Yongchuan would do that. He was not that kind of person. The benefits he would gain by betraying Qin Sheng and the benefits he would gain by killing Third Master Wu were totally different. Wu Yongchuan was such an ambitious man. How could he not choose the latter? After waiting by the lake for more than 10 minutes, Qin Sheng could not help but ask, "How long will it take for him to arrive?" Chang Baji frowned and explained, according to the time, he should have arrived by now. However, Wu Yongchuan is quite suspicious. When we met last time, we also waited for a long time, so we can only continue to wait. Once bitten, twice shy. I guess that when he betrayed Third Master Wu last time, he made too many mistakes, so this time he is so cautious. I understand, Qin Sheng said disapprovingly. This kind of ally was reliable. Otherwise, if he acted carelessly, sooner or later, he would be overturned. After waiting for a few more minutes, Wu Yongchuan finally appeared. Almost the same as last time, he walked over here. This time, he was not worried about Qin Sheng's side, but about the old man's side. Although Wu Yongchuan knew that the old man would not take him seriously, after all, an abandoned pawn was an abandoned pawn. He had to recognize his identity. However, Wu Yongchuan had suffered a loss before. This time, he dared not make the same mistake again. He had to be careful. If you still don't show up, I will really think that you have stood me up. Chang Baji casually greeted him. Although it was dark, one could see that Wu Yongchuan's face was gloomy. He snorted and said, "If you don't even have this little bit of patience, how can we cooperate?" Chang Baji was rebuked by Wu Yongchuan, but he did not bother to explain anything. He just made a casual opening remark. When he was about to introduce Qin Sheng, Wu Yongchuan directly said, "No need to introduce me. Young Master Qin, we have met on Mount Putua." Chang Baji was quite speechless. This Wu Yongchuan really thought that he was Boss Wu in the past. However, Chang Baji was not so narrow-minded, nor would he care about these small things. Qin Sheng stared at the now down-and-out big boss and teased, "It seems that Boss Wu is in a hurry. Then let's not waste time and directly talk about the business, in case of trouble. If you want to kill that old fox, you must lure him out. Whether it's in Shanghai, Mount Putua, or Hangzhou, you have no chance. So what I have to do is to find a way to lure the old fox out, right?" Wu Yongchuan stared at Qin Sheng and asked. He had to figure out what he should do, what Qin Sheng should do, and what would happen later. Qin Sheng nodded with a smile and said, Yes, you only need to lure Third Master Wu out and leave the rest to us. Of course, it would be better if Third Master Wu could have fewer masters around him. Are you sure you can kill the old fox? If you can't kill the old fox, nothing will happen to you. However, I will die. Therefore, I must know your plan. Wu Yongchuan said without any hesitation. This was the most crucial step. If he couldn't do this step well, then he could forget about the rest of the things that would happen later on. Qin Shing lit a cigarette and said with a smile, "You don't have to worry about this. I have more considerations than you. If I could not kill Third Master Wu, I would not have set up this trap. We have more allies than you can imagine, and our power is also greater than you can imagine. Although Third Master Wu has brought a lot of people here, they will all go back in a few days." "What do you mean?" Wu Yongchuan was somewhat confused. Qin Shing said calmly, "If the backyard is on fire, do you think Third Master Wu will not be anxious? Will he still have the mood to stay in Shanghai?" After Wu Yongchuan heard this, he immediately understood what Qin Shing meant. It seemed that Qin Shing had done something to the old fox's base camp. As for who would deal with the old fox, Wu Yongchuan did not care. Wu Yongchuan said firmly, "Well, I have done what I should do. Then, after the old fox dies, how many benefits can I get? This is what I care about the most. If it is just some small benefits, I do not need to take risk. I am satisfied with the life I have now," Wu Yongchuan said in a powerful voice. He wanted to suppress Qin Shing with his momentum. Qin Shing laughed and said, "Are you really satisfied with this kind of life? Boss Wu, if you were satisfied, you would not have risen up in the past. If you were satisfied, we would not have met now. It is better for us to be honest with each other." Wu Yongchuan said in a deep voice, "This is my business. You don't need to worry about it. Just answer my question." Qin Shing somewhat disliked Wu Yongchuan's behavior. "I am cooperating with you, not treating you like a big boss." However, Qin Shing still endured it and replied, "After Third Master Wu dies, you foster sons will definitely fall into internal strife. Let's not talk about who will inherit Third Master Wu's position. I guess those who are strong will definitely occupy the mountain and become the king. At that time, they will not have time to take revenge for Third Master Wu. At that time, my allies will come forward. What you can get is 10% of Third Master Wu's current family property. What do you think?" 10%. After Wu Yongchuan heard this, he sneered and said, "Are you treating me like a beggar?" Qin Shing did not expect Boss Wu to have such a big appetite. He laughed involuntarily and said, "Boss Wu, you are asking for an exorbitant price. Do you know what your current status is? Do you know how much 10% of Third Master Wu's family property is? Don't be dissatisfied. Even if I give it to you, can you eat it?" "How come I don't know this? 10% is too little. I don't need to take the risk. At least 20%. Wu Yongchuan replied without hesitation. Qin Shing was really speechless. He sneered and said, "You only help me to lure Third Master Wu out. I have already given you 10% of Third Master Wu's family property, which is already a great honor. You still want 20%? What about my allies? Even if I agree, will they agree? Do you have the ability to control the situation? At that time, other foster sons will deal with you instead. How will you face them? Do what you can, Boss Wu. Don't be dissatisfied. I said 20%, so it is 20%. The rest is my business. You don't have to worry about it. Even if I am stuffed to death, it is also my business." Wu Yongchuan still did not give in. Qin Shing suddenly said with a cold face, "What I give you is what I give you. As for how much you can rob in the future, it is your business. If you insist on 20% now, I guess we will part on bad terms. You are too greedy. I can't satisfy you. You want to achieve success in one step. I may not really have the ability to give you this. Even if I agree, what should I do if I can't give it to you? Since you have said so, We don't have to talk anymore. Let's stop here. Wu Yongchuan still said like this. After finishing his words, he was ready to leave. Qin Sheng's face changed instantly. Boss Wu, do you think you can leave alive if we don't come to an agreement? Yang Daniu directly blocked Wu Yongchuan's way out. Wu Yongchuan stared at Qin Sheng with a gloomy face and said, What do you mean? Do you want to kill me? Fortunately, I am prepared. Even if I die, your foster father will know about these things. So what if he knows? So what if he doesn't know? Do I care? At worst, I will think of other ways. But you are already dead. Dead is dead. Qin Sheng snorted. It seemed that Wu Yongchuan just realized that the man in front of him was not the previous Qin Sheng. He had to treat him seriously. Otherwise, the consequences could be imagined. Therefore, he could not act anymore. He directly admitted defeat and said, 10% deal. Qin Sheng did not expect Wu Yongchuan to change his face so quickly. He was not worried that Wu Yongchuan agreed casually to save his life, because Wu Yongchuan was not such a person. Moreover, he had a backup plan. Qin Sheng laughed out loud. He patted Wu Yongchuan's shoulder and said, That's right. Rice should be eaten one bite at a time. Otherwise, you will choke to death. You have to walk step by step. Otherwise, you will pull your balls. Boss Wu, I hope we can cooperate happily. Chapter 731. He had been waiting in tonight's confrontation. Both Qin Sheng and Wu Yongchuan seemed to be very tough. However, Qin Sheng was really tough. He did not give Wu Yongchuan any chance to bargain. Anyway, with the old monk's promise, Qin Sheng did not need to pay too much attention to Wu Yongchuan. At that time, even if he could not kill Third Master Wu would be restrained by Hangzhou's affairs. If Wu Yongchuan had the ability to set up a trap for Third Master Wu and kill him successfully, it could not be better. It would directly save a lot of trouble and completely solve Third Master Wu's problem. Therefore, Qin Sheng had already given Wu Yongchuan enough face by offering 10% as a bargaining chip. Moreover, it was an empty promise. It was not certain how he would cash it. Even if he did, Wu Yongchuan still had to face the Dugu family, the old monk, and other forces. Did he have the ability to accept it? Qin Sheng could totally agree with Wu Yongchuan's request of 20%. However, he just could not stand this man's arrogant look. Did he really think that he was an indispensable person? Therefore, Qin Sheng insisted on not giving it to him. He wanted Wu Yongchuan to know his position clearly. Otherwise, there would be a lot of conflicts in the future. As for Wu Yongchuan, he was totally acting. He was just a paper tiger who looked strong but was actually weak. How could he have the ability and confidence to bargain with Qin Sheng? However, this was the last time he would go all out. If he lost, he would lose everything and even his life. Therefore, he had to get as much as he could. This was the capital for him to make a comeback in the future. Therefore, 10% of his family's property was enough for him. It should be said that it was more than what he had expected. He just said 20% casually. He also wanted to test Qin Sheng's bottom line. He did not expect that this man would not give him a chance at all. Until the end, he was still uncompromising. Wu Yongchuan had no choice but to admit defeat. Happy cooperation. Wu Yongchuan put away his arrogance just now and changed into a very easygoing attitude. He took the initiative to extend his hand. At this time, Wu Yongchuan did not seem to be pretending anymore. Naturally, Qin Sheng felt subtle. He teased, Boss Wu is indeed Boss Wu. Today, you have taught me a lesson. A tiger will not fall down even if it dies. Wu Yongchuan also flattered him and said, Not at all. Young Master Qin really taught me a lesson. I didn't expect that the ordinary young man I met at that time has become a towering tree. Qin Sheng smiled and said, Life is like a drama. I'm afraid Boss Wu didn't expect to experience so many ups and downs. Wu Yongchuan said meaningfully, I'm not afraid of the ups and downs of life, but I'm afraid of falling down and not being able to stand up again. I, Wu Yongchuan, do not want to be like that, so this time I will do my best. No matter what price I have to pay, I hope that young Master Qin can help me in the future, and I hope that we will have more opportunities to cooperate. Qin Shing said thoughtfully, that's for sure. I'm waiting for Boss Wu's good news. Everything is ready except for the east wind. As for what Wu Yongchuan had said about more opportunities for cooperation in the future, Qin Shing shook his head in his heart. Who would dare to believe a man who could betray his foster father twice? At that time, Third Master Wu did not kill Wu Yongchuan, which would probably be the most regretful decision in his life. Maybe this was fate. The Wu family was successful, and the Wu family was also the one who failed. Wu Yongchuan was even more anxious than Qin Shing. He had had enough of being abandoned like this. Everyone in the circle looked down on him. After all, in any circle, seniority was determined by strength. He used to be insufferably arrogant. Other than his foster father, there was only him. But now there was a world of difference between heaven and earth. Who would still take him seriously? Wu Yongchuan was even more anxious than Qin Shing. He had had enough of being abandoned like this. Tonight's matter was settled. It went well. Both parties said goodbye. Wu Yongchuan left first, and Qin Shing left with Chang Baji and Yang Daini. On the way back, Qin Shing sat in Chang Baji's car. He still had something to discuss with Chang Baji. He asked, Third Master Wu entered Shanghai with great fanfare. The Yan family can't wait anymore. Xue Ku and Gu Yongning are also angry about the car accident. They are so quiet, which is a bit abnormal. Chang, we need to be careful. Chang Baji replied, I have been watching them, but there is no movement. I am also confused. Qin Shing frowned and said, the more it is like this, the more worried I am. But let's not talk about this first. There is one more thing. If Wu Yongchuan really finds an opportunity, we may not have enough people here. Only you and Dainu can be at ease. Third Master Wu has many hidden talents. I am afraid that others are not his match. Moreover, we have to solve the problem as soon as possible. So I am thinking about what to do. Chang Baji thought for a while and said, Why don't I go out again? Chang Baji thought for a while and said, In these years, he had traveled all over the country and met many super-mundane masters, including some like-minded friends. He could give it a try. Maybe they would come out to help. Qin Shing shook his head and said, It is too troublesome and time-consuming. Distant water cannot quench present thirst. So I have already thought of a countermeasure. What countermeasure? Chang Baji was puzzled. Old monk. Qin Shing said with a smile, the old monk. The old monk can be on an equal footing with Third Master Wu. He must have a lot of masters under him. When the time comes, we can borrow a few. After all, we are allies now. It is a waste not to use them. After hearing this, Chang Baji could not help laughing. Qin Shing was really not polite. He did not know what the old monk would think if he knew it. However, if the old monk really wanted to send people over to help, it would be more violent and simple. This problem would be solved directly. On the way, Chang Baji and Qin Shing talked a lot. For example, how to solve the problem of the Yan family. Qin Shing's answer was that no matter how he treated the Yan family, Yan Chaozong would only end up dead. He did not care about other people. The Yan family would fight back first. When Qin Shing returned to the Lujiazui apartment, it was already 1 o'clock in the morning. Recently, Lin Su slept late because it was already very late when she came back from overtime. But tonight, Lin Su had been waiting for Qin Shing. How could she not tell Qin Shing that the old lady had sent such an expensive gift? Also, Lin Su had to talk to Qin Shing about her brother. After Qin Shing came back, he naturally felt sorry for her and asked why she did not sleep. Lin Su, who had already taken a shower and was only wearing pajamas, said with a smile, I was waiting for you. I have something to tell you, but you should take a shower first. You are sweaty. Qin Shing felt that Lin Su was a little strange tonight, but he did not say anything. He went to take a shower first. When she came out of the shower, he called Lao Chong back and told him something he had thought of when he was taking a shower. After that, Qin Shing went back to the bedroom and lay on the bed. He hugged Lin Su, who was reading a book, and said, "Baby, what's the good news? You seem to be in a good mood." Lin Su lay on Qin Shing's chest and took the initiative to put her right hand in front of Qin Shing's eyes. She deliberately showed the jade bracelet and said, "What did you find?" Of course, Qin Shing saw the jade bracelet. Lin Su had never worn it before, but he had seen others wear it. He guessed that it was a new bracelet that Lin Su bought for him to admire. "Wow, a new jade bracelet. It looks pretty. Thinking about it carefully, it seems that I have not bought you a gift for a long time. I am a little incompetent as a boyfriend. I will go shopping with you another day." Qin Shing let out a long sigh and said, this was the truth. He did not know whether it was because they had been a couple for a long time or something. He did not give Lin Su a gift for a long time. Some time ago, he even thought of giving Lin Su a ring, but Lin Su's hand was bare. "Why did you buy a gift? I am not short of anything. You'd better save money. We still have to live in the future," Lin Su said half-jokingly. If other friends heard this, they would probably look at them with disdain. Did you two still lack money? One was the future heir of the Chang and business empire, and the other was a rich woman who now owned 40% of the Lin family's property. If you two lacked money, how many rich people were there in this world? At this moment, Lin Su's thoughts were all on the jade bracelet. She smiled and said, "I did not buy this jade bracelet. It was a gift from Grandma when I went to visit her today." Qin Shing did not know the story of this jade bracelet. He said in surprise, "Well, Grandma gave it to you? It seems that Grandma likes you very much. You see, I said at the beginning that Grandma would definitely like you. You were quite worried at that time." Lin Su frowned and asked, "You don't know this jade bracelet?" Qin Shing shook his head and said, "I don't know. I have not heard Grandma mention it. What's the story of this jade bracelet?" Lin Su sat up very seriously and then told Qin Shing what Grandma had said. Only then did Lin Su know that this was his mother's relic. At this moment, Qin Shing was finally not so casual. He touched the jade bracelet for a long time without saying anything. He looked a little sad. Only then did he understand what it meant for Grandma to give this jade bracelet to Lin Su. He also knew the value of this jade bracelet. Qin Shing held Lin Su in his arms and said with some emotion, "I think both my mother and your mother must be watching what we have been through. Maybe it is also because they are blessing us that we can be where we are today." Qin Shing was a little emotional. Lin Su nodded silently and said, "Yes, Mom must be blessing us." Qin Shing felt a little guilty and said, "Wife, I am sorry. I promised to go back with you to visit Mom and Grandma, but it took me so long." Lin Su smiled and said, "Let's talk about it after you finish these things. I think they will understand." Qin Shing said very seriously, "Well, after the recent things are finished, I will accompany you to Ningbo, and then take you back to Beijing. It is time for our things to be settled." Hearing this, Lin Su naturally understood what Qin Shing meant. She had been waiting for it all the time. She was also waiting for the day to marry Qin Shing. It was just that she did not pressure Qin Shing for some things. She just let nature take its course. After talking about this, Lin Su told Qin Shing about Lin Zai's visit today. After Lin Su finished talking, she replied, "Honey, what do you think my brother is doing this time?" Qin Shing was not surprised. He also did not bother to guess whether Lin Zai was sincere or not. He said casually, "No matter what he is doing, after a long time, you will naturally know." Lin Su smiled and nodded. Time revealed a man's heart. Moreover, her brother was not that patient, so it would not take long for him to find out. The hotel was upstairs in the Park Hyatt, so it would not take up any time. At the same time, he also refused Qin Shing's good intention to pick him up at the airport in person, which seemed to have made his attitude clear. Qin Shing was not surprised. After all, they were not in the same camp, so he just asked Zhong Shan to arrange 3 cars to pick them up. "They're not coming with good intentions," Zhong Shan mumbled to himself. Today, all the department heads and the members of the restructuring committee were present, including the heads of the accounting firms and law firms. They were all waiting for the big exam. After Qin Shing arrived at the company, he had already greeted these people. At this time, he waited for Wang Qingshui calmly. He shook his head and said, "That's for sure. No matter how well we prepare, he will find fault with us. If he approves of me, how can he go back and explain to the big shots behind him?" "That's true. Then we don't need to take it too seriously. Anyway, the result is that you will definitely be criticized," Zhong Shan said half-jokingly. This sentence was the truth. Qin Shing laughed and said, "Just deal with it. I don't believe that he will stay in Shanghai and not leave. You continue to do what you should do. I will take care of the things in front." At this time, the staff downstairs informed them that Vice President Wang Qingshui and others had already got on the elevator. Qin Shing immediately waited at the door of the elevator to greet them. Wang Qingshui was not like Fang Fei. Qin Shing did not dare to neglect him. A vice president with real power, not to mention the major shareholder behind him, there were also many of his direct subordinates in the whole group. If he offended him, even if Qin Shing returned to the headquarters in the future, there would be endless resistance. A few minutes later, the elevator door slowly opened, and Vice President Wang, who had an extraordinary temperament, walked out of the elevator first, followed by his assistant secretary and the heads of other relevant departments of the company. It looked majestic and made people feel pressured. Wang Qingshui, 46 years old, was one of the real power figures in the group. He ranked second among the 3 vice presidents of the group. Not to mention his dazzling resume, his achievements in these years were enough to make many people look up to him. He was a standard overseas returnee elite. Although Wang Qingshui was not tall, he looked very energetic. He was wearing a well-tailored custom-made suit from Seville Street, England. His figure was also very well maintained. He gave people a feeling of superiority. When he walked, his pace was very fast, and his aura was particularly strong. Qin Shing had already seen Wang Qingshui when he was at the headquarters in Beijing. However, he did not have much contact with him at that time. After all, he had contact with Hao Mingyi and Chang Sini, the 2 real power figures of the group, who were second only to the chairman of the board. Moreover, Wang Qingshui was not the confidant of the old man. Wang Qingshui had already seen Qin Shing after he went into the elevator. However, his face was still as usual, without any smile. It seemed that he did this on purpose to make it difficult for people to get close to him. He looked a little unhappy when he saw such a big show. However, if Qin Shing did not have such a show today, Wang Qingshui would still be unhappy. This was the result of you and me being in different camps. With a smile on his face, Qin Shing walked over quickly. He took the initiative to stretch out his hand and said politely, "Mr. Wang, long time no see. Welcome Mr. Wang to Shanghai to inspect the work." One should not hit a smiling person. However, it seemed that Wang Qingshui did not do so. He also did not care about Qin Shing's identity as the crown prince of the group. Moreover, he did not need to care about it. He said with a cold face, "Chairman Qin, there is no need to make such a big show. It is working hours now. I am just doing my routine work. If the headquarters knew about this, wouldn't they drown in their saliva?" In terms of rank, Qin Shing was a non-executive director of the group. Wang Qingshui was just an ordinary vice president. Qin Shing's rank was higher than his. However, in terms of administrative rank, Qin Sheng was now only the person in charge of this subsidiary in Shanghai. However, Wang Qingshui was the vice president of the group. There were several ranks between them. Wang Qingshui's words seemed to make sense. If they were allies, they would definitely greet each other politely after meeting each other. Now, from Wang Qingshui's words, anyone could see Wang Qingshui's dissatisfaction with Qin Sheng. Therefore, other outsiders also knew that this vice president Wang did not take the crown prince of the group seriously. Although Qin Sheng was very unhappy, he had expected it. He could only say, "Mr. Wang, you are right. I did not think it through. Thank you for pointing it out. I will pay attention in the future." After that, Qin Sheng directly looked at Zhong Shan. Zhong Shan immediately asked the others to return to the company to work. He continued to stay by Qin Sheng's side to see what this Vice President Wang was going to do today. Wang Qingshui's purpose had been achieved. He wanted to show Qin Sheng his power and let Qin Sheng know that he was not a person to be trifled with. Don't think that just because you are the crown prince of the group, I, as a vice president, have to take you seriously. At the same time, he also made Qin Sheng lose face in front of everyone, making Qin Sheng even more speechless. However, this was not the end. Immediately after that, Wang Qingshui took the opportunity to say, "But Chairman Qin, you have just entered the company not long ago. You may not have any experience. I can understand this. Don't make such mistakes in the future." Wang Qingshui hit him with a stick and then gave him a carrot. This trick of Wang Qingshui was really smooth. At least in this first confrontation, Qin Sheng completely lost to Wang Qingshui. He could only say that Wang Qingshui was really not simple. Qin Sheng squinted his eyes and replied with a hidden dagger in his smile, "Then in the future, I still have to ask for advice from you, Vice President Wang. I hope you will not be stingy with your advice." Qin Sheng's address of Wang Qingshui had changed from Mr. Wang to Vice President Wang, which also showed his attitude. "Since you are not even willing to act, and your purpose is so clear, why should I take you seriously?" When Wang Qingshui heard Qin Sheng calling him Vice President Wang, how could he not feel Qin Sheng's resistance? He laughed and said, "I am not qualified to ask for advice from Chairman Qin. But if you really want to ask me for advice, I will not refuse." No one said anything. They just watched the confrontation between the two big shot. One was the new rich young master of the group, who seemed to be the future successor. The other was the vice president with real power inside the group, who had a strong background and many direct subordinates. Moreover, the two of them did not get along. How could there be no spark? This was much more interesting than watching a movie. This time, the feud had been set. Maybe this was also what Qin Sheng thought. But for Wang Qingshui, since the power struggle inside the group began to deteriorate, especially since the major shareholder behind him had stood on the opposite side of Qin Chang'an, it was impossible for him to be Qin Sheng's ally. If one day, something happened to Qin Chang'an and Qin Sheng wanted to live in the Chang'an department, they would definitely be the first force to oppose Qin Sheng's succession. At that time, the struggle would be more intense, instead of the verbal confrontation today. How could they be friends? Since it was destined that they could not be friends, Wang Qingshui would not do that kind of thing to show goodwill to Qin Sheng, and he also expressed his position to the big shots behind him. Qin Sheng was even more uncomfortable. This time, he could be said to bear the humiliation. No matter how Wang Qingshui suppressed him, he had to bear it and could not resist. This was the most disgusting thing, even more disgusting than eating a fly. Why couldn't he resist? Because everyone in the headquarters in Beijing was watching, whether it was the whole group's management, the board of directors, or the major shareholders behind them. Otherwise, the board of directors would not make such a scene. If Qin Sheng's reaction was more intense, they would feel more disgusted and disgusted. At that time, there would be more resistance when Qin Sheng took over. Now, Qin Shing had dared to challenge the vice president who had real power before he took over. If he took over in the future, wouldn't it be a mess? Qin Ran had made it very clear on the phone. If Qin Shing still did not understand, he would really be fooled by these people. Therefore, this time, Qin Shing felt very wrong. Qin Shing thought to himself that if he took control of the Chang and department in the future, he would definitely kick Wang Qingshui out. Chapter 733. Leaving angrily, Qin Shing said these words out of anger, or maybe he just thought so at the moment. The purpose of Wang Qingshui's trip to Shanghai was very clear, which was to suppress him. Wang Qingshui did not give him any face at all. How could Qin Shing not feel aggrieved? However, one's position determined one's position. Wang Qingshui was originally the direct descendant of that major shareholder. Now that the two sides had shed all pretenses, Wang Qingshui naturally represented the will of that side. That side definitely did not want to see Qin Shing take over, so there was this action. If one day the two sides reconciled again, that side would continue to support the Qin family and Qin Shing. Naturally, Wang Qingshui would also support Qin Shing again. At that time, wouldn't the enmity be resolved with a smile? Would Qin Shing bear a grudge and really kick Wang Qingshui out? Wouldn't that let others say behind his back that he was a villain who was intoxicated by success and was not magnanimous? No matter what, regardless of the power struggle behind him, Wang Qingshui's ability was beyond doubt. Otherwise, how could he sit in such a high position? Qin Shing did not want to argue with Wang Qingshui anymore. He could not really do anything to Wang Qingshui. Why should he give Wang Qingshui a chance to establish his power? Why not expand the scope a little and look at the problem outside of the current situation? It seemed that everything would be clear then. Vice President Wang, please come in. I can't let others say that this is how I treat my guests, Qin Shing said calmly. He had already given Wang Qingshui enough face. He did not believe that Wang Qingshui would still be aggressive. This time around, Wang Qingshui did not continue to target Qin Shing. He only nodded slightly and followed Qin Shing into the company slowly. Along the way, the two of them did not have any direct communication. Wang Qingshui asked about the company's matters and greeted the employees at the same time. At this moment, Wang Qingshui looked very approachable, leaving a good impression on the employees of the Shanghai company. This was originally the simplest way of dealing with people in a high position. Qin Shing did not feel that there was anything wrong with it. He and Wang Qingshui were the two of them. How Wang Qingshui treated the staff at the bottom was Wang Qingshui's business. Zhong Shan had already arranged a separate conference room for Wang Qingshui's entourage. It wouldn't be long before these people would confront them in the big conference room. Wang Qingshui had probably already arranged it. After all, these people were all his confidants. Wang Qingshui walked into Qin Shing's office alone. Zhong Shan did not follow him. Although he was Qin Shing's strategist arranged by Qin Chang'an, his current position in the group was not enough to compete with Wang Qingshui. The coffee table in Qin Shing's office was filled with fruits and snacks. After entering the office, Qin Shing asked, "Vice President Wang, what would you like to drink? Tea or coffee or a soft drink?" "A glass of warm water will do," Wang Qingshui said casually. He did not hurry to sit down. Instead, he walked directly to the French window and enjoyed the scenery of Lujiazui. Although this was the Lujiazui Financial District, next door was the Shanghai Center Building and Jin Mao Building. Not to mention the scenery of Lujiazui, even the entire Pudong could be seen. However, Qin Shing had long been tired of appreciating it. After all, he sat here every day. Maybe he was more interested in it a few days ago, but after a long time, it was nothing. Wang Qingshui had stayed in Shanghai for a few years before. He was also in this Lujiazui Financial District, but the company was not in the World Financial Center building. At that time, the Shanghai Center building had not started construction. Every time he came to Shanghai, he was in a hurry. He had never stood at this height to enjoy the scenery of Lujiazui carefully. Qin Xing asked Yan Pan to pour a glass of warm water for Wang Qingshui and put it directly on the sofa. Then Yan Pan left the office and stood at the door, waiting for orders at any time. Shanghai, Shanghai, the world of the rich. But I still like Beijing. It's a city of power. After all, money serves power, Wang Qingshui said emotionally. He did not know whether he was saying this to himself or to Qin Xing, who was behind him. Wang Qingshui did not know whether he was saying this to himself or to Qin Xing behind him. Qin Xing did not think that Wang Qingshui was talking to him. Who knew what tricks he would play next, so Qin Xing did not answer at all. What's more, who could not understand the truth that Wang Qingshui said? Why did rich people like to flock to Shanghai? It was not that they really liked Shanghai because there was no stage for them in Beijing. Only the group of people standing at the top of the money pyramid had the opportunity to show off there. But how many people were there in the whole of China? Furthermore, how many of those big families that were still able to wield power over the years were willing to leave Beijing? Leaving Beijing meant leaving the center of power, and once they left the center of power, they were destined to be crushed by the wheel of history. There were too many examples. Who would be willing to leave so easily? Wang Qingshui turned his head and suddenly said earnestly, Qin Xing, you haven't been back for a long time. Maybe you don't understand this feeling. When you sit in this position for a long time, after a few years, when you understand the rules of the game in this world, you will understand. Qin Xing really did not know whether Wang Qingshui was testing him or really thought that he did not understand anything. If he did not even understand these principles, he would have been eaten by those enemies long ago. He would not have the ability to go to Beijing to make a living, and he would be obedient to be a rich second generation. What? Do you think what I said is wrong? Wang Qingshui turned around and stared at Qin Xing. Qin Xing chuckled and said, No, it seems that I still have a lot to learn. In the future, I will ask Vice President Wang more questions. Of course, there are many things in the company. In this aspect, Vice President Wang is definitely a senior. Wang Qingshui smiled and sat on the sofa. He drank a mouthful of water and said, Qin Xing, now there are only two of us. Do you need to do this? Do you really think that I don't know what kind of person you are? I don't understand what you mean, Vice President Wang. Qin Xing's face changed slightly. Could it be that what they had done outside was a play, and now that they were alone it was another play? Wang Qingshui did not know what his purpose was. He shook his head and smiled bitterly. Qin Xing, I will not call you Chairman Qin, it is too hypocritical and dignified. I have been with your father for many years. From the point of view of a person in charge and an elder, I still want to say a few words to you. It doesn't matter whether you listen to me or not. After leaving this office, I will still be me, and you will still be yourself. No matter what, Qin Xing would not have a heart-to-heart talk with Wang Qingshui. But out of politeness, he still said, Since Vice President Wang wants to say it, I will listen. Wang Qingshui did not care about Qin Xing's attitude of deliberately keeping a distance from him. He said slowly, Many things are not as simple as you think. Others think that you are the crown prince of the group and the only heir of the chairman. But do you know how complicated the Chang'an group is? I guess you have already known some things by now. The power struggle behind the scenes is so fierce that we, the executives, are not qualified to intervene. Even the chairman is now losing ground and has to make all kinds of compromises. Do you think that you can handle it? I mean, if one day something happens to the chairman, do you think that you can smoothly take over? Do you think that the major shareholders will be willing to support you? Even if they support you, do you think that you can handle it? Qin Xing suddenly seemed to understand something. He said happily, I see. It seems that Vice President Wang did not come to Shanghai for only one purpose this time. It turns out that you are a lobbyist for someone else. But I don't know who the mastermind is. Since you want me to quit, why don't you come to Shanghai in person to have a talk? If the talk is good enough, I can still consider it. Qin Shing's words were sarcastic. Anyone who heard it would probably be unhappy. Wang Qingshui frowned slightly and said unhappily, Qin Shing, no one asked me to be a lobbyist, and no one asked me to do it. This is just what I want to tell you. Even your father can't solve the problem, can you solve it? Your father started from scratch. How many ups and downs did he go through to get today's status? If he can fall, what qualifications do you have to play? How can you be so sure that he will fall? Are you so confident? Qin Shing sneered and didn't want to hide it anymore. Wang Qingshui said happily, apart from the major shareholders and the members of the board of directors, I rank in the top 5 in the group. If I don't know it, who can know it better? Vice President Wang, you'd better be straightforward. What do you want to say to me? Qin Shing smiled playfully. He didn't believe what Wang Qingshui said at all. Wang Qingshui said meaningfully, quit the Chang'an group and stay away from this storm. This is definitely the best choice for you. What if I refuse? Qin Shing said bluntly. Wang Qingshui said very seriously, whether you refuse or not, it has nothing to do with me. Even if you really want to take over, I can still find a suitable place after I leave the Chang'an group. But what I want to say is, do you think that you are as capable as your father? You don't have too much pressure now because your father is in front of you. But without him, the overwhelming pressure will directly crush you to death. You know that you will die, but why do you insist on doing it? What Wang Qingshui had said today was too direct. In his words, he said that if Qin Chang'an was not around, he would not give Qin Shing any face at all. If he said these words to Qin Shing sincerely, Qin Shing could understand. If he was just trying to persuade him or test him, Qin Shing really felt that the force behind him had shed all pretenses of cordiality. There are some things that are different whether to do it or not. Success or failure are two different things. This is the answer, Qin Shing said firmly, leaving no room for negotiation. After hearing Qin Shing's final statement, Wang Qingshui directly applauded and laughed. Good, then I'll wait for you. What's the final result? Anyone could hear that Wang Qingshui was being sarcastic. Obviously, he was very dissatisfied with Qin Shing's attitude. After this last sentence, Wang Qingshui directly stood up, directly strode out of Qin Shing's office, and directly went to the small meeting room. Outside the office, whether it was Yen Pan or the other secretaries and assistants, they all could see that Vice President Wang left very angrily, but they didn't know what had happened inside. As for Wang Qingshui's angry departure, Qin Shing didn't have any feelings. They were not the same kind of people, why did they have to talk about this? However, what were the people behind Wang Qingshui planning? Baidu Search 881 Chinese Network. No advertising words. Chapter 734. Going too far. Qin Shing had thought that Wang Qingshui just came with bad intentions, but he didn't expect that after entering the office, Wang Qingshui seemed to have changed into a different person and said so many words to him. It seemed that he was sincere, but was it really so? Obviously, these words sounded like someone else's persuader, but Qin Shing didn't know whether it was on purpose or to test him. Qin Shing didn't want to think about it, nor did he care about Wang Qingshui's unhappy parting. He didn't think that Wang Qingshui was really such a good person, unless he was the kind of person who was ignorant of the world. The position was determined by the position. Wang Qingshui, who stood on the side of the enemy, wouldn't believe anything he said to Qin Shing, even if there was some selfishness in his words. Yen Pan walked in and was about to pack up. Qin Shing waved his hand and asked her to go out first. At the same time, he gestured for her to close the door and call Zhong Shan over. At the same time, in the headquarters building of the Chang'an department on Jianwei Street in Beijing, Qin Ran was standing in front of the old man's desk, with her arms crossed and a cold face. It seemed that she was a little unhappy. Although she was the eldest daughter of the Qin family, she seldom came to the old man's office. She didn't know why, but she didn't want others to think that all her efforts were just because of her identity. She had long been indifferent to this, and she was already past that age. Sitting in front of the desk, Qin Chang'an casually flipped through the documents and said with a smile, "Are you so worried about that brat?" Qin Ran said angrily, "As a father, you don't worry about him, but as a sister I do." "Fine, fine, fine. I can't win against you, but you and your sister are on the same side now. How dare I criticize you?" Qin Chang'an said with a smile. His attitude toward his daughter was always this kind. He really loved this woman, especially after her mother passed away and her brother went missing. He tried all kinds of ways to make it up to her, but she seemed to be too unwilling to be too close to him. It was not until Qin Xing came back that she changed a lot. Qin Ran said thoughtfully, "This time, it's not just about Qin Xing. They didn't discuss it with you in advance and directly brought it up at the board of directors, which is a dangerous signal. Wang Qingshui's first stop is Shanghai. Obviously, he is going there to find trouble. No matter how well Qin Xing does, he will not say anything good about it. Moreover, I suspect that Wang Qingshui has other tasks. I don't believe that it is so simple." Qin Chang'an raised his head casually and glanced at his daughter as he said, "All right, don't worry about it. You can call Qin Xing later and you will know everything. Besides, do you really think that I don't know about these things?" Qin Chang'an had never cared about the rumors circulating in the outside world. That was because people like him, who were not even qualified to be on the card table, could only be self-satisfied forever. In the past few years, he was not the only one who was rumored to have met with an accident. Those who met with an accident were indeed not good, but in the end, there were also many who took the risk out of desperation. He was Qin Chang'an, the biggest legend in the domestic capital market in recent years. He represented not only himself, but also the interests of the entire circle. How could he fall so easily? There were many things that the old man was unwilling to tell her. Qin Ran seldom asked about it, but she could see it. She sighed and said, "Dad, are the sixth master and the others really not supporting you anymore?" Qin Chang'an said disapprovingly, "It is not that serious. It is still in the game. It is normal for a husband and wife to quarrel and make trouble, not to mention between partners." Qin Ran stared at the old man for a while. How could she not believe what he said? Over the years, the Chang'an group had never been in such a difficult situation. Therefore, she could not look at these things with the old eyes. Qin Ran thought that she could not get any information from him, so she curled her lips and said, "Forget it. I will not ask you any more. Anyway, you will not say anything. I will go to work." After Qin Ran finished speaking, she turned around and walked out. Qin Chang'an looked at his daughter's receding back thoughtfully. She was such an outstanding and beautiful daughter. The genes of the Qin family and the Zhu family were really good. Qin Chang'an did not know who she would marry in the future. When that day came, as a father with an incomparably strong heart, he would also be jealous. This was understandable. When Qin Ran was about to reach the door, Qin Chang'an suddenly thought of something. He smiled and said, "By the way, Ran, accompany me to visit your mother tomorrow. You have not been there for a long time, right?" Qin Ran stopped subconsciously. It seemed that she had not been there for more than a month. It did not occur to her that the old man was still concerned about this. Qin Ran smiled happily and nodded. Okay. No matter how many women the old man had outside, Qin Ran had never cared about them. The old man had suffered too much alone these years, but his longing and deep love for his mother had not diminished at all. It was as if he was still the young man who had been in love with his mother all those years ago. After Qin Ran left, Qin Chang'an's face instantly became gloomy. His situation was not optimistic, but it was more serious than he had thought. However, he was not willing to tell his daughter about it. It seemed that no father would want his daughter to see the moment when he was tired. He would always leave a strong background for them. It seemed that even if the sky fell down, he would not be a problem and he would support it. Qin Chang'an stood up slowly and walked to the floor-to-ceiling window. Compared with the Lujiazui financial district in Shanghai, Chang'an Street was the place where everyone wanted to establish a foothold. Whether they were rich or powerful, they all wanted to establish a foothold here. Only in this way could they be qualified to play cards. From east to west, not to mention the state ministries and the big shots of the central enterprises, every other building was full of shocking stories and backgrounds. The Chang'an department was just one of them. When they chose this place, it was already destined that the Chang'an department would be in such a situation sooner or later. Maybe it was because of their high profile in the past few years that they had buried hidden dangers. Especially those few moves, Qin Chang'an thought that they had done a good job and accumulated enough political capital for their future development. At that time, the sixth uncle and the others had also done the same. After all, they were allies on the same boat. However, who would have thought that things would suddenly take a turn for the worse? They seemed to have thought many things too simple. In the face of the national will, it seemed that everything was useless. That was why today's situation was like a floating cloud. Qin Chang'an looked at the CBD of the World Trade Center in the distance and sighed deeply. The land next to the World Trade Center that had been given away was originally the new global headquarters of the Chang'an department. When the building was completed, the Chang'an department would become a world-famous multinational capital consortium. Unfortunately, it was like a floating cloud now. It's still early. Let's see who will fall first, Qin Chang'an said thoughtfully. The one in Bohai Bay seemed to have made it. Now he was trying to survive by breaking his arm and then standing up again. The guy in Shanghai who had suffered a big loss was still keeping a low profile and waiting for his luck to change. The one in Hainan was also in the game now. They wanted to see who would be abandoned in the end. The one in Shenzhen was already too big to fall, but it still could not wash away the original sin. Rumors often came out. As for the so-called big shots in the North View Tower of the Four Seasons Hotel in Hong Kong, in the eyes of these people, they were just a motley crew. They were all vassals of this Chang'an Street. If one fell on Chang'an Street, another would be smashed to death. At the same time, a group of people in China would be defeated and run away. Walking to the depths of the water, sitting and watching the clouds rise and fall on the 68th floor of the Shanghai World Financial Center, in the big office facing the Shanghai Center building of the Chang'an department, the smell of gunpowder was very strong at the moment. The two different camps were in a fierce confrontation. After Qin Sheng reported the process of the reorganization of the Shanghai company to Wang Qingshui began to bombard him. It could be said that the whole reorganization work and the process were useless. His attitude was extremely tough and his words were extremely sharp, which made people on Qin Sheng's side explode with anger. However, several executives represented by Zhong Shan were still trying their best to explain. If he explained, the result would be the same. If he didn't explain, the result would still be the same. It seemed that there was no difference, but in fact there was a big difference. These things were for outsiders to see. No matter how angry Qin Sheng was, he had to endure it and finish the show. In this confrontation, Qin Sheng still lost completely. No matter how strong he was, he could not compare with Wang Qingshui, who was a professional. Wang Qingshui was in charge of the Risk Management Committee of the Chang'an Department. For these things, it was simply a piece of cake. Qin Sheng's only advantage was Zhong Shan and the executives they selected. The strength of these people was beyond doubt. They were all carefully selected by Qin Sheng and Zhong Shan. Fortunately, they did not encounter any resistance in this aspect. Otherwise, they would be in a more difficult situation now. After a full 3-hour meeting, Wang Qingshui really put Qin Shing in his place. It would not take long for what happened today to be spread to Beijing. Then those big shots behind the scenes would question Qin Shing's ability. Maybe Qin Shing would become the protagonist in the next board meeting. The worst result might be that Qin Shing would be transferred from his position in Shanghai. After the meeting in the morning, although Qin Shing was very angry with Wang Qingshui, he was the boss of the group. Qin Shing still had to bear with it. Out of politeness, he said, "Vice President Wang, we have already arranged lunch here. Just treat it as a welcome dinner for you." Unexpectedly, Wang Qingshui returned to his original appearance again. Before Qin Shing directly refused, he said, "It's not necessary. We can eat at the hotel at noon and take a rest. There are a few hours of meeting in the afternoon. Let's talk about it in the evening." After that, Wang Qingshui left the meeting room with his team first and went back to the hotel to have a rest, leaving Qin Shing and the executives of the Shanghai company, who were rejected mercilessly. Everyone looked at each other. Xu Yong could not help but directly hit the table and said, "This Wang Qingshui is really too much." Wang Qingshui was in charge of the Risk Management Committee. Xu Yong also had a lot of achievements in risk control, which was his advantage. However, today Wang Qingshui was very dissatisfied with his work and made things difficult for him, which made him very mad. Zhong Shan let out a long sigh and said, "No matter how dissatisfied you are, you have to bear it. It's not a big deal as long as you get through it. But in the afternoon, you still have to argue for what you should refute. Don't be too timid." Qin Shing did not say anything. At this time, he happened to receive a call from his sister Baidu Search 881 Chinese Netyin. No advertising words. Chapter 735. It was obvious that someone was going to beat you up. Even if you couldn't beat them, you couldn't just stand there and let them beat you up. When it was time to fight back, you had to fight back. Otherwise, others would think that you didn't have any backbone at all. Therefore, in today's meeting, if Qin Shing felt that they had done nothing wrong, he would stand up without hesitation. He did not give Wang Qingshui any face at all. After all, he could not allow Wang Qingshui to be too unscrupulous. After all, he was Qin Chang'an's son and Anan, executive director of the Chang'an Group. However, Qin Shing still had to weigh the situation carefully. Otherwise, the board of directors and major shareholders would think that he was too arrogant. If he really inherited Qin Chang'an's position in the future, it would be a mess. However, Qin Shing did not tell the executives about this in advance, so Zhong Shan reminded him like this. Qin Shing was thinking about how to deal with Wang Qingshui in the meeting in the afternoon. He did not expect that his sister would call him at this time. So he walked into the office quickly and answered the phone. At the same time, he told Yen Pan to buy some lunch for him. In the office, Qin Shing lit a cigarette and smiled. "Sister, are you worried about me?" Qin Shing looked calm, as if nothing had happened. Qin Ran, on the other hand, was very worried. Consequently, she said discontentedly, "Tut tut tut. You act as if nothing has happened. I am the one who is worried." Qin Shing could tell that his sister was unhappy. He comforted her in a hurry. "Sister, I know you're worried about me. It's just Wang Qingshui. You've reminded me. I can handle it." Yo. You're talking big now. Isn't it just Wang Qingshui? Do you know how many people in the Chang'an school have a higher status than Wang Qingshui? If you don't take it seriously, you won't even know what will happen when you are sold by others. Qin Ran was really annoyed by Qin Shing. Fortunately, this was her biological brother. If it was someone else, she would have already given him a good scolding. Qin Shing felt that his sister was really angry this time. He put out the cigarette in a hurry and apologized. Sister, don't be angry. I was wrong. I was just joking with you. I didn't want you to worry too much. Why are you still joking at this time? Tell me what happened today. Tell me everything. I want to see what Wang Qing has up his sleeve. Qin Ran could not be bothered with Qin Shing's glib tongue anymore. He was really not a decent person. If he kept behaving like this, she would really be worried about his future. Qin Shing did not dare to say anything more. He obediently repeated what had happened today, including Wang Qingshui's refusal to pick him up, the face-slapping after entering the company, the lobbyists in the office, the tit-for-tat in the meeting room, and so on. He did not leave out any details. Qin Ran did not take what had happened before seriously at all. Naturally, Wang Qingshui would not be too polite to Qin Shing. After all, they belonged to different camps now. The executives in the company also began to take side. This was human nature and everyone could understand. However, Qin Ran was more interested in the latter two things, especially what Wang Qingshui had said in the office. Qin Ran had a better understanding and guess than Qin Shing. Wang Qingshui definitely didn't mean what he said. He didn't have the time to deal with these letters. If Hao Mingyi and Chang Sini had said this to Qin Shing, Qin Ran would have thought that they were worried about Qin Shing's future. However, Wang Qingshui was definitely not this kind of person. Qin Shing did not know Qin Ran well. He was originally a chess piece planted in Chang'an by Master Lu and the major shareholders. Otherwise, how could the old man give up such an important position so easily? It seemed that Wang Qingshui's other task this time was to be a lobbyist for Master Lu. Qin Ran felt that it would definitely not be so simple. As expected, she guessed correctly. Wang Qingshui really worked hard. As for the last thing, it was originally within their expectations, so Qin Ran was not surprised at all. She also agreed with Qin Shing's way of dealing with it. It seemed that she did not need to worry too much about her brother in these things. He had a sense of propriety and was neither servile nor overbearing. This was enough. As for the other things, it would be the final game between the old man and those people. Otherwise, no matter how hard Qin Shing tried, he could not change the result. After Qin Ran heard what Qin Shing said, she laughed coldly and said, "So he's a lobbyist for Master Lu and the others. Wang Qingshui is really willing to do this. Good, good, good. He really did not let me down." After listening to what Qin Shing said, Qin Ran could guess what Master Lu's intention was. It seemed that she still could not reach an agreement with the old man. She could only think of a solution from Qin Shing's side. Once Qin Shing gave up, naturally, the old man would not be able to hold on. He had ulterior motives and should be punished. However, they had underestimated Qin Shing. Qin Shing had walked step by step all these years. He had suffered all kinds of hardships and suffered all kinds of grievances. When had he ever given up easily? He had fought with his life on the line several times. If Qin Shing had given up even once, he would not be the Qin Shing he was today. "Sister, don't worry. No matter how much he says, I won't take it seriously. There have never been cowards in the Qin family. Even if the old man falls, I will not hesitate to carry the Qin family's flag. As long as there is one person in the Qin family who is still breathing, I will not admit defeat," Qin Shing said firmly. He also wanted his sister to rest assured. After hearing this, Qin Ran said very happily, "Silly brother, I have never doubted you. It's just that they think too lightly of you. One day you will surprise them." The sister and brother did not talk much. After all, they had just called yesterday. Qin Shing also knew about the situation in Beijing. Now, Qin Ran also knew about the situation in Shanghai. She also knew that Qin Shing could face Wang Qingshui, so she was not worried. If he was strong, let him be strong. If he was strong, let him be. If he was strong, let him be. If he was strong, let him be. Therefore, when they continued to confront each other in the afternoon, Qin Shing had a good sense of propriety. Zhong Shan and other executives also cooperated with Qin Sheng. It was like a battle in which a small loss was exchanged for a large victory. This made Wang Qingshui somewhat helpless and a little surprised. In the end, he was led by Qin Sheng. However, Qin Sheng also learned a lot from this confrontation. After all the people present were managers in the capital circle. Whether it was Wang Qingshui or his team, or Zhong Shan or these executives selected by them, the confrontation on many professional issues made Qin Sheng stunned. Dinner was reasonable and unexpected. Wang Qingshui refused Qin Sheng again. It seemed that he was telling Qin Sheng that people of different principles could not make plans together. They should not have any intersection. Otherwise, it would only be embarrassing if they sat together. This time they really fell out. Qin Sheng did not know whether it was because the confrontation in the afternoon made Wang Qingshui lose face, or because Wang Qingshui reported to the other side at noon and was very disappointed, or because Wang Qingshui was reprimanded, so he did not even give Qin Sheng face at dinner. Since Wang Qingshui dared to do this, Qin Sheng was not afraid of anything. This could give others a good reason to explain. Maybe Wang Qingshui did not expect this. In the end, Qin Sheng invited all the executives present today to dinner, which could be regarded as encouraging them not to worry about offending Wang Qingshui. He had his back. Qin Sheng was busy dealing with Wang Qingshui, who came out halfway. The Yan family and Third Master Wu had already taken action against Bao Fan. Xueku and Gu Yongning were waiting for the news. If they really killed Bao Fan, it would not only break Qin Sheng's right-hand man in Shanghai, but also give Qin Chang'an a heavy blow. This wishful thinking was good. During the period when Qin Sheng was in Shanghai, Bao Fan had to be busy with Qin Sheng's affairs and the Qin family's affairs. After all, he was Qin Chang'an's spokesman in Shanghai. The position of Shanghai was so important that the word Shanghai was enough. Tonight, Bao Fan did not stay at his home in the city. Instead, he went to his friend's private manor in the suburbs for a banquet. Since he owned a private manor in the suburbs of Shanghai, it could be seen that his status was not low. Originally, Bao Fan wanted to go back after the banquet. However, he was too tired recently. He felt a little dizzy after drinking a little. In addition, his friend wanted to chat with him. So, Bao Fan decided to rest here tonight. Bao Fan only took his driver and bodyguards with him. Maybe he was really careless this time. He did not expect that those people's target would be him. Or maybe Bao Fan felt that it was safer to stay with his friend. So, he asked the driver and bodyguards to go back directly. He would come to pick them up tomorrow. What Bao Fan definitely did not know was that outside this private manor, the Yan family and Third Master Wu had been following him for a long time. After confirming that he might not go back, they immediately started to send reinforcements. It seemed that they wanted to kill Bao Fan here. It had to be said that the Yan family and Third Master Wu were a little unscrupulous tonight. They really intended to let the Xue family and the Gu family clean up their mess. But what if they failed to do so? Third Master Wu did not send Chu Xikong or Yang Deng. In particular, Chu Xikong, a master at such a high level, naturally wanted to deal with people like Chang Baji. It was not necessary to mobilize so many people to deal with Bao Fan. Instead, he asked the beautiful woman in Cheongsam to cooperate with the Yan family's action with the other two subordinates who rushed over from Hangzhou. This time, the Yan family was the main target. Third Master Wu's target was Qin Sheng. However, Third Master Wu was not in a good mood today because he got a bad news. The bad news was so bad that Third Master Wu, who had restrained his anger for many years, almost smashed his cup. Today, a foster son came to Third Master Wu's old foreign-style house. This foster son was Luo Changgong, who Third Master Wu placed high hopes on and had a good relationship with Yang Deng. He was also an old acquaintance of Qin Sheng. Luo Changgong said, "Foster father, what should we do now?" This time, the old monk really took the bullet. We have not interfered with each other's business for many years. These 2 days, they suddenly attacked us and set the whole province on fire. They definitely planned it for a long time. Luo Changgong spat. He had lost 5 million yuan in his business last night. How could Luo Changgong not be angry? Third Master Wu frowned tightly. He was really surprised that the old monk suddenly chose to start the fight. Over the years, they had been living in harmony. Even if there was something wrong, they would discuss it and solve it. It had never been so sudden as today. Why did the old monk suddenly attack? What was his motive? Where did he get his confidence? Third Master Wu could not help thinking about these questions. However, taking a step back, Third Master Wu had to admit that the old monk chose a good time. He had already transferred many people to Shanghai and was ready to go back to the Bund. If he attacked at this time, it was tantamount to taking drastic measures against him. Third Master Wu thought for a long time and said, "Contact the old monk." Chapter 736. The main text of The Strongest Counterattack will be updated tomorrow. Please wait for a moment. After the content is updated, please refresh the page to get the latest update. Chapter 737. Leaving a way out, Third Master Wu was very clear that his status in Zhujiang had reached the peak. No matter how hard he tried, he could not go further. The cake was only so big. If he wanted to eat more, he could only rob others. However, the other forces were not paper tigers, such as the old monk, the Dugu family, Boss Hu, and so on, who would be willing to give up their interests. Therefore, Third Master Wu had been living in peace with those forces, especially his biggest rival, the old monk. They minded their own business. Even if there were conflicts, they would solve them peacefully. Moreover, the biggest knot in Third Master Wu's heart was that he had left Shanghai in a mess. Therefore, he always thought that he could go back to Shanghai someday, which could be regarded as fulfilling his dream. Otherwise, he would have some regret. Now, he finally had such an opportunity to cooperate with the Yan family. With the support of the forces in Siju City, it was not a dream for him to go back to Shanghai. It was just a matter of time. However, it had never occurred to him that the old monk would give him a fatal blow at this time, making him unable to take care of himself when his backyard was on fire. The old monk's timing was extremely accurate. Third Master Wu had no choice but to face it. Otherwise, not to mention that Shanghai might be affected, even his base camp might suffer heavy losses. No matter how perfect the old monk's timing was, Third Master Wu could not figure out why the old monk suddenly made things difficult for him. What was his purpose? Who was supporting him? It was impossible for him to do this for no reason. Therefore, Third Master Wu was going to contact the old monk to see if there was any misunderstanding. As long as it could be solved peacefully, it did not matter even if he lost some interests. Anyway, his current focus was on Shanghai. The reason why Luo Changgong rushed over from Hangzhou was that he wanted to discuss this matter with his foster father face to face. The other foster sons did not come, but they all told Luo Changgong their thoughts and suggestions. Luo Changgong just needed to tell his foster father. At this time, they could not leave, because they had to face the old monk. Some people could not bear it. They wanted Third Master Wu to transfer all the people back and deal with the old monk first. After that, they would deal with the old monk in Shanghai. After all, Zhujiang was their base camp. Some people suggested that they should have a good talk with the old monk. In this era, there was no need to be tit for tat, which would not benefit anyone. Third Master Wu had the same idea. Third Master Wu chose the second option. At this moment, there were only Chu Xikong, Luo Changgong, and Yang Deng by Third Master Wu's side. He asked Chu Xikong to call the old monk directly. He wanted to have a talk with the old monk on the phone. If the conversation went well, they could solve the problem face to face later. Anyway, he wanted to solve the problem as soon as possible. After Chu Sikong heard the old monk's order, he immediately used Third Master Wu's mobile phone to call the old monk. It was the old monk's housekeeper who answered the phone. He refused Chu Sikong directly without any consideration for the old monk's feelings. Chu Sikong was quite surprised. The old monk did not show him any respect at all. After Chu Sikong came back, he said with an embarrassed look, "Third Master, the old monk refused to talk to you. He said it was unnecessary and that you could speak with your strength." After Third Master Wu heard that, he finally could not restrain his anger. He said angrily, "What? That old bald donkey really is going too far." Third Master Wu was not the only one who was surprised. Luo Changgong was also shocked. This was not the old monk's style. Even though they used to be rivals, they got along well with each other later on. The old monk had a good relationship with his foster father. It was impossible that he would not show respect to Third Master Wu. Yang Deng was also quite displeased. The old monk was so rude. As soon as his foster father gave the order, Yang Deng dared to stand in front of the old monk immediately to help his foster father solve the problem. "Foster father, what should we do now?" Luo Changgong was also somewhat at a loss. The old monk did not play according to the routine, which caught them unprepared. If they continued to be bullied like this, they would only lose more benefit. Luo Changgong said immediately, "Foster father, if the old monk really wants to fight to the death, we should not just swallow our anger. We should shed all pretenses of cordiality with him. Let's see who will give in and leave in the end. At that time, we will take care of the situation in Shanghai." Third Master Wu shook his head and said, "No. If we keep entangling with him, when will we be able to win? What we lack most in Shanghai is time. Time waits for no man. This is not something that we can decide. There are too many aspects involved." Luo Changgong felt a little confused and said, "Foster father, what should we do? Our strength does not allow us to act separately. We can only choose one side." Third Master Wu was lost in thought. After thinking for a long time, he made a decision and said, "You go back to Hangzhou now and visit the old monk in person. It will be best if you can buy some time or figure out his purpose. It will be better if you can let him meet me. At that time, I will go back to Hangzhou to talk with him." Since Third Master Wu had given the order, Luo Changgong did not have a good solution. He could only say, "Okay. Foster father, I will go back now and try to meet the old monk. If he refuses to see me, I will discuss with you." After saying that, Luo Changgong directly walked out of the old foreign-style house and was ready to go back to Hangzhou. Yang Deng walked him out. On the horse road outside the old foreign-style house, Luo Changgong said in a low voice, "Yang Deng, I will go back now. Take care of my foster father in Shanghai. If anything happens, we can contact each other at any time." Yang Deng nodded quietly and said, "Okay, I know. You should also pay attention to your safety." Luo Changgong thought of that thing. He hesitated for a while and asked, "Have you met Qin Sheng?" Luo Changgong knew why his foster father came to Shanghai and why he got involved with the Yin family. It was all because of Qin Sheng's return. As for those things about Qin Sheng, Luo Changgong had already known more or less. He felt lucky that he had made a choice at that time, which could be regarded as leaving a way out for himself. Otherwise, the consequences would be unbearable. Therefore, Luo Changgong was a person who valued friendship and righteousness and was loyal to his character. Without him, there would be no Qin Sheng. Maybe it would be another situation. Luo Changgong said thoughtfully, "No matter what, you are friends after all. Although you are in different positions now, you are still friends." Yang Deng said thoughtfully, "We are even now. We don't owe each other anything. If he does something bad to you in the future when we meet, I will not hesitate to take action." Luo Changgong was not as simple as he looked. The human mind was unpredictable. Moreover, people were selfish. Luo Changgong had thought about many things. He could only remind Yang Deng, don't think things are simple. Don't you think it is a little strange that the old monk suddenly chose this time to attack us? Think about it. The Yen family turned to my foster father and the old monk at the same time. My foster father chose the Yen family again, but the old monk directly refused. Now he attacked us again. Don't you think it is very strange? Why didn't Qin Sheng attack the old monk? But now he wants to settle the score with us. Is there Qin Sheng behind the old monk this time? After Luo Changgong finished his words, Yang Deng was directly lost in thought. He had to admit that Luo Changgong had guessed right. He connected all the things to analyze the logic in it, instead of considering one thing only. Maybe he was just a blind cat running into a dead mouse, but many things were mutually logical. Yang Deng did not say anything. Luo Changgong continued, Yang Deng, Qin Sheng is not the same as before. We don't know how powerful Qin Sheng is at all, because he is beyond our level. So sometimes we need to leave a way out for ourselves. Don't be too stiff with Qin Sheng. If one day, if, you can also ignore me. If Yifu Tian really falls in front of Qin Sheng, you and I are the only ones who have a way out in the whole circle. So you have to think more about it. If my foster father dies in Qin Sheng's hands, I will definitely avenge him, Yang Deng said firmly. His foster father had done so much for him that he could not ignore it. Luo Changgong smiled bitterly and said, Yang Deng, you are my brother. I am telling you these things. I don't treat you as an outsider. If it were someone else, he might betray me in the blink of an eye. But you definitely won't. As I said, it's my business. It's up to you how you choose. To say the least, Qin Sheng should seek revenge from my foster father. This is what my foster father owes Qin Sheng. As for you seeking revenge from Qin Sheng, it's up to you. I won't stop you or get involved. Anyway, I won't seek revenge. This was the difference between Luo Changgong and Yang Deng. Luo Changgong was more rational and mature. He and Third Master Wu were more like business partners. Yang Deng and Third Master Wu were more like father and son. This was also the reason why Third Master Wu liked Yang Deng so much. Yang Deng still did not say anything. Maybe he was thinking about the relationship between them. Luo Changgong did not waste any time. He was afraid that others would think too much. He patted Yang Deng's shoulder and said, Think about it carefully. I won't say anything else. It's up to you how you choose. I'll go back first. After Luo Changgong got in the car and left, Yang Deng was still thinking about what he should choose when the day came. Even if he went to seek revenge from Qin Sheng, could he really get revenge? In the old-style foreign-style house, Third Master Wu and Chu Xikong were still talking about this. Third Master Wu hoped that Chu Xikong could help him analyze and figure out the relationship between them. Chu Xikong analyzed and said earnestly, There must be something wrong when things are abnormal. The old monk's sudden attack this time is too strange. There must be some other forces supporting him. Otherwise, the old monk would not have acted rashly. Third Master Wu frowned and said, You're right. You are right. It is impossible for the old fox to take action casually. If he does so, he will not get any benefits at all. It is very likely that he will ride on someone's coattails. I will try my best to sound him out first. If he still does not give in, I can only ask the Yen family to help me. Chu Xikong nodded silently and said, We can only do this now. But then he said, Do you think it is possible that Qin Sheng is playing tricks? Is it possible? After all, we have to think of all possibilities. Chu Xikong's words seemed to enlighten Third Master Wu. Third Master Wu's expression changed instantly and he said nothing. After a long time, Third Master Wu shook his head directly and said, It's impossible. It is impossible. The old guy also offended Qin Sheng. It will be fine if Qin Sheng does not make trouble for him. How can they cooperate? Moreover, Qin Shing still has to worry that the old monk will make trouble for him. At worst, Qin Shing will seek reconciliation with the old monk, just like how he sought reconciliation with me. How can the old monk help Qin Shing to deal with me? It is not that the old monk doesn't know how much it will cost him. How can he make such a losing deal? Qin Shing does not have enough benefits to exchange for it. After Third Master Wu finished his analysis, Chu Sikong nodded silently and said, "You are right. It is indeed impossible. I can only guess. I hope it is not the case." Third Master Wu did not speak anymore. He had to wait quietly for a while and think carefully about what was going on. What went wrong? It never occurred to him that the most impossible possibility would become a possibility in the end. Genius 1 second to remember the website address. Midnight Reading Mobile Version URL. Chapter 738. You alone? Third Master Wu and the old monk had confronted each other for so many years. It was the first time that they were in a passive situation. They didn't even figure out the source of the problem, not to mention how to solve the problem. While Third Master Wu was in a dilemma, the old monk was quite calm. He had done what he had promised Qin Shing, which could be regarded as the greatest sincerity of the Chu family. Later, he would continue to pressure Qin Shing. As for what Qin Shing had planned, he only needed to cooperate with him at that time. This was the only thing the old monk could do for his grandson at the last moment of his life. He hoped that his grandson could understand his good intentions one day. After hanging up the call with Third Master Wu, the old monk called Qin Shing right away and told him what had happened. He also told Qin Shing that Third Master Wu was a little anxious. It could be seen how much the Chu family had paid this time. All in all, the sudden fight between the old monk and Third Master Wu shocked everyone. No one expected that the Jianghu, which had been peaceful for so many years, would be in trouble again, not to mention in this era where everyone cared about making money. Some people said that the old monk was dishonest and broke the tacit rules. Others said that Third Master Wu crossed the old monk's bottom line, so the old monk did that. All in all, except for those who knew some inside information, no one would think that all this had something to do with the unknown young man. However, at this moment, the young man was also having a headache. After all, he met a big boss who was more powerful than him. This big boss was really stubborn and didn't give him a chance at all. As for Wang Qingshui, Qin Shing really had no way to deal with it this time. He had already thought about how Wang Qingshui would report to the board of directors. At that time, all kinds of rumors about him would come out, which would leave a bad impression on many people. It would be very difficult for him to take over the position in the future. This was the reason why Wang Qingshui was so evil. Fortunately, the old monk's call made Qin Shing feel better. The Chu family didn't let him down this time. Wei Li had already called him about what had happened in Zhujiang, saying that it was the most popular thing in the province now. No one expected that two big bosses would suddenly fight against each other, which was very rare. Everyone was guessing what had happened on Earth. The old monk had made it clear on the phone that Third Master Wu was really anxious. He had taken the initiative to contact the old monk to solve the problem. Unfortunately, the old monk had refused. In this way, Third Master Wu would be more anxious. He did not dare to waste more time. At that time, he would be attacked from both sides. After Qin Shing thanked the old monk, he hoped that the old monk would continue to put pressure on Third Master Wu. The old monk also agreed. As long as Third Master Wu was in a mess, Third Master Wu would be more flustered. The more flustered Third Master Wu was, the easier it would be for Qin Shing to get the chance. As long as Third Master Wu seized the chance, he would not give Third Master Wu any more chances. A chaotic battle had already begun. Several forces were entangled in it, and behind them, there were different interest groups. Both sides fought back and forth. For example, Qin Sheng had put pressure on Third Master Wu through the old monk. Meanwhile, the people in Beijing had put pressure on him. At the same time tonight, Third Master Wu and the Yan family were also taking action against Qin Sheng. Bao Fan had been in a dangerous situation. It seemed that he could not escape from this disaster. On Third Master Wu's side, the leader was the beautiful killer in Chong Sam. At the same time, there were two trusted subordinates following her. On the side of the Yan family, several big shots who had been hired with money were sent out again. However, this time, it was not Qian Tong and his disciple. Instead, it was the other two men. They could not let them take action every time. Apart from them, the others were just logistics personnel who followed Qin Sheng. The name of the thin man, who had once almost posed a threat to Qin Sheng, was Huang Jin. Recently, he had been holding back in Shanghai. He had only taken action that night. After that, he had been a coward and could only watch Qian Tong and his disciple work to make money. He had been suppressing his anger for a long time. Today, he finally had a chance. Apart from them, there was also the middle-aged man named Zhao Junhai. The middle-aged man was hot-tempered. He had always been at odds with Qian Tong and his disciple. He thought that Qian Tong and his disciple were a group of swindlers who did not have any strength at all. However, the head family did not give him any chance, so that he could not give full play to his skills. Today, he finally found a chance. However, Zhao Junhai was a bit like Feng He. Usually, he looked serious. However, when he met a beautiful woman, his eyes would be full of lust. In particular, when he saw the beautiful woman in Chong Sam tonight, his eyeballs almost flew out. The beautiful woman in Chong Sam was so angry that she could do nothing about it. The beautiful woman in Chong Sam was Liang Yu, an assassin who had been kept in captivity by Third Master Wu. She was good-looking and had a super good figure. After all, she worked out and did yoga every day. No wonder Feng He was distracted by her. If you look at me again, believe it or not, I will dig your eyes out. Liang Yu was a little annoyed. It did not occur to her that all the people in the Yan family were hooligans. In the front, there was the domineering Feng He. Now there was this thick-skinned middle-aged man. Zhao Junhai laughed and said, "Beauty, I really have no choice. Who asked you to be so beautiful? If you were ugly, I definitely wouldn't look at you. I can't control my eyes. You just have to bear with it. Anyway, if I look at you twice, you will lose a lot of flesh. Moreover, this is the most basic respect I have for you. Don't you think so?" In terms of being thick-skinned, Zhao Junhai could really compete with Feng He. No wonder he could chat with Feng He. When Liang Yu heard this, her face turned cold. If it were not for the task tonight, she really wanted to teach this middle-aged man a lesson. However, she might not be able to defeat Zhao Junhai. Zhao Junhai might be eager to fight with her. At that time, she would definitely take advantage of him. "Remember, I will definitely take revenge on you in the future," Liang Yu said fiercely. As expected, Zhao Junhai said disapprovingly, "Oh, then I really look forward to it. At that time, if you lose, you will be my wife. What do you think?" Liang Yu was so angry that she almost exploded. She pointed at Zhao Junhai and said, You have guts, whether you want to quarrel or fight, you can do whatever you want after the task is done. If you continue to be like this, don't blame me for being impolite," Huang Jin said seriously. Zhao Junhai was the first to refute, "TSK. You want to be the hero and save the beauty?" Huang Jin did not talk nonsense at all. Without hesitation, he attacked. In an instant, he appeared in front of Zhao Junhai. It was unknown when a knife appeared in his hand, but he directly pressed it against Zhao Junhai's chest. This could be considered as giving Zhao Junhai face. Otherwise, this knife would be placed on his neck. Zhao Junhai had not fought with Huang Jin before, but he had always felt that this man was a little bit dangerous. Therefore, he dared to quarrel with Qian Tong and his disciple, but never dared to say anything to Huang Jin. It did not occur to him that this man's strength was actually so powerful. Just now, he had already felt the danger, but before he came to his senses, Huang Jin had already appeared in front of him. It could be seen how big the gap between their strength was. "Just me," Huang Jin said gloomily. Zhao Junhai looked very embarrassed. At this time, what else could he do but admit defeat? He laughed and said, "Oh, Lao Huang, I was just joking. Why did you take it seriously? Tonight, we will all listen to you. What do you think we should do?" On the other side, although Liang Yu was a little unhappy with Huang Jin's words just now, after seeing Huang Jin's strength, she immediately shut up tactfully. Moreover, Huang Jin also made Zhao Junhai suffer a loss, which could be considered as helping her vent her anger. As for Liang Yu's other two helpers, they did not participate in this quarrel at all. They were not familiar with Liang Yu or the other two people, so they just let them do whatever they wanted. "Are you sure that we can fight here without any accidents?" Huang Jin was a little worried. Liang Yu said calmly, "That depends on our ability. When it is 3 o'clock in the morning, they will probably be asleep. We will sneak in and cut off the power and backup power, as well as the surveillance. We will find Bao Fan, knock him out and take him away. As for the others, it is better not to touch them. In short, don't kill anyone here, otherwise things will get out of hand." "Why do we have to fight here?" Huang Jin was a little unhappy. This obviously increased the risk by a lot. Liang Yu answered honestly, "This is already the best chance. The higher-ups have asked us to get rid of Bao Fan in the shortest time possible. If Bao Fan does not give us a chance, we can't just waste our time like this forever. So there is no other way." Huang Jin frowned and said, "I got it." What Liang Yu said was indeed the truth. Xueku and Gu Yongning kept putting pressure on them. The Yen family had no way to deal with it at all. They could only keep discussing with Third Master Wu about countermeasures. Now that Third Master Wu was in trouble in his backyard, it seemed that he was not in the mood to deal with these things. Therefore, tonight's incident happened. Qin Sheng had already reminded Bao Fan and Chang Baji to be careful of the Yen family's attack. Therefore, Bao Fan had been very careful during this period of time and did not give anyone a chance at all. The main reason why he dared to come to the suburbs tonight was that this friend of his had a relatively special identity. He still did not believe that the Yen family would dare to fight here. However, if he did not believe it, it would often come true. As for the next things, they could talk about it later. In the executive suite of the Park Hyatt Hotel, Wang Qingshui, who had rejected Qin Sheng's invitation to dinner, came back early after dinner with his team. He called Mr. Liu, but Mr. Liu said that Mr. Liu had a dinner tonight and could only call him back after it was over. Mr. Liu's dinner must be attended by important people. Moreover, it was such a special period. Therefore, Wang Qingshui did not dare to disturb him. Moreover, Wang Qingshui was the vice president of the Chang'an department and the person in charge of the risk management committee. He was usually very busy. This time, even if he came out to inspect the subsidiaries, branches, and so on, he still had to deal with his daily work. It was impossible for him to neglect his work because of this. Wang Qingshui waited until it was almost past 1 o'clock before Mr. Liu called him back. It seemed that Mr. Liu was also very concerned about the situation in Shanghai. Otherwise, he would not have called back so late. If it was not urgent, he would definitely wait until tomorrow to ask. "Mr. Liu," Wang Qingshui said respectfully. He did not have any imposing manner in front of this old man with a powerful background. He was not the Wang Qingshui from the day. Mr. Liu, who was on the way back to the Sihiyuan, said calmly, "Tell me, what happened today?" Although Mr. Liu's identity was special, his car was just a very ordinary Audi A6L. However, the license plate was not ordinary at all. Of course, there were those special passes, but they were not usually taken out. They would only be hung up when needed. Wang Qingshui did not hide anything. He repeated everything that happened today. In the end, he waited respectfully for Mr. Liu to lecture him or instruct him on what to do tomorrow, and so on. Unexpectedly, after Mr. Liu heard it, he just replied very calmly, "I got it." Wang Qingshui was a little surprised. After a long time, he asked, "Mr. Liu, then what should I do tomorrow?" Mr. Liu would not talk about these things with Wang Qingshui. That was why he said that. It was because Wang Qingshui was not qualified. He was not a person on the table at all. Even if he was the vice president of the Chang'an department, so what? Mr. Liu just said casually, "Your task has been completed. Tomorrow will be the same as today." After that, Mr. Liu directly hung up the phone, leaving Wang Qingshui on the other side of the phone with a face full of confusion. However, he did not have any temper. After hanging up the phone, the Audi happened to be on Chang'an Street. Mr. Liu looked at the bright night view of Chang'an Street, squinted his eyes and said, "There will be results soon. First, set a small goal. For example, remember in 1 second, Booksellers Mobile." Chapter 739. Both sides were playing a game. They did not represent themselves, but represented different interest groups. The intrigue and deceit behind their backs were enough to make ordinary people speechless. No one would admit defeat easily. Even if they had to suffer losses, they would laugh until the end. As long as they survived this battle, they would get back what they had lost sooner or later. But if they lost, they would lose everything. Mr. Liu did not give in. It seemed that he wanted to force Qin Chang'an into a desperate situation. Qin Chang'an refused to compromise and was still looking for opportunities. At present, it seemed that Qin Chang'an was at a disadvantage. Otherwise, Mr. Liu would not have said such a thing. However, would the result be what Mr. Liu wanted? Would the Qin family really have no choice but to admit defeat? Before the result was out, everything might not be certain. Compared to the undercurrent in Beijing, Shanghai and Hangzhou were more lively. In Hangzhou, Qin Sheng already had the upper hand, but in Shanghai, he might suffer a heavy loss tonight. At 3 o'clock in the morning, some people might have insomnia because of a broken up. Some people had just finished working overtime to make a living. Some people had just finished drinking after calling their friends. Some people might still be studying late at night. However, it was a little inappropriate for someone to prepare for murder and arson at 3 o'clock in the morning. Moreover, there was more than one person. Obviously, these people were not ordinary people. Finally, at 3 o'clock in the morning, Zhao Junhai was a little impatient. Liang Yu and Huang Jin were quite patient. Liang Yu was still making the final preparations to make sure that there were no loopholes in their plan, such as the architectural structure of the manor, the distribution of the rooms inside, and their final escape route, etc. Huang Jin was meditating there like an old monk. The hot weather did not affect his mood at all. With such a state of mind, it was no wonder that Huang Jin's strength was far above Zhao Junhai's. Perhaps only Qian Tong and his disciple together could be a match for him. At 3 o'clock in the morning, Zhao Junhai could not help but say, "Can we do it now? If not, the sun will rise." This time, Liang Yu did not argue with Zhao Junhai. She directly ordered, "Do it." According to the plan, the 5 people immediately split up. At this time, they had all changed into special clothes, which could avoid unnecessary exposure. There weren't many security guards in the manor. Other than the 2 bodyguards of the owner, the rest were ordinary servants, nannies, the owner of the manor, and the target of this trip, Bao Fan. The first step was to cut off the power. When they were about to enter the manor, the people outside had already cut off the main circuit of the manor. Liang Yu's 2 subordinates went straight to the backup power source of the villa. Zhao Junhai and Huang Jin were responsible for dealing with the villa's security and the owner's bodyguards, while Liang Yu controlled the surveillance room and so on. The few groups of people had a clear division of labor. trying to take Bao Fan away in the shortest time possible. At 3 o'clock in the morning, everyone in the manor had already fallen asleep. Who would have thought that something like this would happen? This had never happened since the manor was built. Whether it was the security guards or the servants, they were all used to being lazy. As for the bodyguards of the owner of the manor, they also relaxed their guard and went to bed early. After all, who would dare to make a move on their boss? That person must be tired of living. The boss had a series of titles. Everything seemed to be going smoothly. After the main power source was cut off, several groups of people successfully sneaked in. Liang Yu took control of the surveillance room, and the security guard on duty was directly knocked out. Then, Liang Yu turned off all the monitoring lines, and the backup power source was also cut off. The patrolling security guards were all ordinary people who couldn't withstand a single blow. After meeting Huang Jin and Zhao Junhai, they were easily taken down. Then, there was only one last step left. They went directly to the main building of the manor to find their target, Bao Fan. When they entered the main building, unfortunately, the two bodyguards of the owner of the manor had woken up. At this time, they were walking out together. The two groups of people bumped into each other in the hall downstairs just like that. Wasn't it surprising? The two bodyguards didn't notice anything strange. It was just that after the power was cut off, the air conditioner was also stopped. This summer night was unusually hot. If it was a normal day, they would definitely fall asleep. However, it was really too hot, so the two of them came out to see what was going on. If the power was cut off, they would make do outside for the night. They really couldn't sleep in this room. "Who is it?" The bodyguard reacted very quickly and asked. After all, anyone would be very surprised to see 4 or 5 people suddenly appear in the middle of the night. Liang Yu and Huang Jin's response was also very direct. After the bodyguard asked who it was, Liang Yu and Huang Jin had already rushed out at the same time. The two of them were especially fast, as if they didn't want to give the opponent a chance to counterattack at all. However, they had underestimated the strength of the owner of the manor. The two bodyguards were not ordinary characters either. When they made their move, they were already prepared. When the bodyguards rushed over, the two of them hurriedly fought back. Although they were at a disadvantage, at least they were not killed instantly. On the other side, Zhao Junhai directly rushed to the second floor with the other two men. No matter how lustful Zhao Junhai was, he knew what he should do now. The two bodyguards were enough to leave the two bodyguards to Liang Yu and Huang Jin. He could take advantage of the situation to find Bao Fan. By then, this great credit would be at his fingertips. The fight had already started downstairs. In the luxurious room on the second floor, the owner of the manor was sleeping soundly. He was really careless, but when he woke up tomorrow and saw everything that had happened, the owner of the manor would definitely be furious. Bao Fan drank a lot tonight. He was too tired recently, so after drinking and chatting, he fell asleep directly. He planned to have a good rest for the day, so he asked the bodyguard driver to pick him up tomorrow. It was very safe in Boss Tang's manor. After all, Boss Tang was the stubborn owner of the south of Siju City. However, there was a fight downstairs. When the others just went upstairs, Bao Fan also happened to wake up. Similar to the two bodyguards, Bao Fan couldn't stand the heat. In the summer, there must be air conditioning, otherwise, he couldn't stand it at all. Why did he come to Shanghai in the first place? It was because the heating in winter in Beijing was too hot, and the winter in the south was just right for him. After Bao Fan woke up, he turned on the lights several times before he found that there was a power outage. This made him somewhat depressed. How could he survive this night? He couldn't call the driver and bodyguard to pick him up now. Moreover, he didn't know when the electricity would come back, and he didn't know if there was a backup power supply in this manner. Bao Fan first got up and walked to the balcony in only his underwear and vest. He opened the balcony window to let in some air. If there was a little wind, it would be okay, but there was no wind at all outside. Bao Fan was even more depressed. The weather was sultry and he drank a lot of wine at night. At this time, he was a little dizzy and a little thirsty. When Bao Fan was about to find some water to drink, he heard something outside. He thought it was the servant who was checking the circuit, so he went downstairs to ask what was going on and when the electricity would come back. Just when Bao Fan opened the door, Zhao Junhai and the other two men had just come to this side of the corridor. Bao Fan instantly saw Zhao Junhai and the other two men over there. It just happened that the moonlight shone through the window on them. They were wearing strange clothes, so they were discovered. Whether it was in Beijing before or in Shanghai now, Bao Fan had experienced a lot of things. He was Qin Chang'an's spokesperson in Shanghai. How could he not know what was going on? Bao Fan almost judged what was going on in an instant. At the same time, he reacted. He turned around and ran directly into the room. Without hesitation, he rushed out to the balcony. Zhao Junhai and the other two men were still in a daze. They thought that they had been discovered again. But when Bao Fan turned around and ran, Zhao Junhai immediately knew that this man was the target they were looking for. He rushed over without hesitation. At the same time, he ordered the two men to chase him from below. He already knew what Zhao Junhai was going to do. After all, their original plan was to come in from the balcony. After Bao Fan entered the room, he didn't care to put on his clothes. He directly took the most important thing, which was the mobile phone. This was a life-saving thing. Without this thing, he was afraid that he would die here tonight. After getting the mobile phone, Bao Fan rushed to the balcony in a hurry. He jumped over the balcony guardrail and quickly found something to lean on to slide down. Bao Fan didn't jump down directly. He was not that stupid. If he broke his leg or sprained his ankle, he would not be able to leave. After Bao Fan jumped down, he ran out immediately. He didn't choose the direction at all. His speed didn't look like that of a middle-aged man at all. Anyway, Bao Fan only wanted to get away from the manor and those killers. Only in this way could he survive. At the same time, Bao Fan was still reflecting. That was, he really underestimated the enemy this time. Obviously, the other party came prepared. They should have followed him for a long time. Otherwise, how could they sneak in without being noticed? However, Bao Fan really didn't expect that the other party would be so unscrupulous. They actually dared to make a move in Boss Tang's manor. They didn't take Boss Tang seriously at all. He didn't know what would happen when Boss Tang woke up tomorrow. Moreover, if something happened to Boss Tang, it would be really interesting. However, Bao Fan didn't have the time to think about this at this time. He quickly dialed Chang Baji's phone on the way to escape. After the phone was connected, he directly shouted, "Lao Chang, come and save me." After Chang Baji, who was already asleep, was woken up by the phone call. When he saw that it was Bao Fan's call, he knew that something must have happened. However, he didn't expect that it would be such a big deal. Chang Baji instantly woke up. Chang Baji didn't ask what was going on at all. He just couldn't wait to ask where Bao Fan was. After Bao Fan shouted the name of the manor, Chang Baji directly hung up the phone. Without any delay, he put on his clothes and rushed out. In the yard of the manor, Bao Fan, who was only wearing underwear and a vest, was very embarrassed. It was the first time in his life that he had encountered such a situation. He had no regrets in his life. If he could survive, he would definitely burn incense and pray to Buddha. Zhao Junhai didn't expect Bao Fan to be so agile. He didn't want to let his prey escape just like that. At that time, he wouldn't be able to explain himself at all. Therefore, when he saw Bao Fan jump down from the balcony to escape, he directly jumped down from the balcony and continued to chase after him. For him, this was nothing at all. Everyone looked down on Bao Fan. They thought that he was just an ordinary businessman who probably didn't have the strength to truss a chicken. However, if they knew Bao Fan's detailed history in the Qin family, they would know that Bao Fan was also a hidden master. Therefore, when Zhao Junhai jumped down, Bao Fan had already run far away, which made Zhao Junhai also very shocked. In the hall of the manor, when two men ran downstairs, Liang Yu couldn't help but ask, "What's going on?" The man in the front shouted, "The target has run away." Liang Yu's expression changed instantly. She couldn't help but be angry. If they let the target run away, they would really lose face. Therefore, Liang Yu directly went up and killed the bodyguard in front of her with death entanglement. On the other side, Huang Jin had also killed his opponent. After hearing that the target had run away, he directly rushed out. Chapter 740. Too much noise. After decades of grudges in the Jianghu, the new generation replaced the old. Bao Fan belonged to the group of senior figures who had followed Qin Chang'an since the beginning. Otherwise, how could he have become the spokesperson of the Qin family in Shanghai? However, many people had retired behind the scenes, such as Mr. Ding. If you asked most of the younger generations of the Chang'an family, almost no one knew Mr. Ding, so it was not surprising that no one knew Bao Fan's past. Of course, only people like Gongsun knew the entire Qin family and the influential figures who had appeared in the Chang'an family before and after. Those who had been glorious and kept a low profile now, and those who had left long ago, no matter what, the Qin family would never forget them, and the Qin family would never mistreat them. However, Bao Fan's strength had crushed many people when he was young, and he had also protected Qin Chang'an from death several times. However, he had never been targeted like this. Such a large number of people could be considered as giving him face. Especially after he arrived in Shanghai, with the influence of the Qin family and the Chang'an family, his business was in full swing. There would be no resistance, and no one dared to look down on him. It was true that a tiger would be bullied by a dog when he fell. Who would have thought that after the Qin family lost its power, these people would now take them so lightly? One day they would pay them back. Bao Fan ran desperately, thinking of the memories of his youth. Besides, he did not want to die here. Who would want to end their short life like this? Zhao Junhai was not a pushover either. Although Bao Fan had the upper hand, he could not let Bao Fan escape just like that. He used all his strength to continue chasing, cursing in his heart, "Don't let me catch up to you, or else I'll kill you." As for the others, they had just found the direction in which Bao Fan ran, and it was not easy to catch up with Bao Fan in a short time. Among them, only Huang Jin and Liang Yu were fast, especially Huang Jin. This thin man was like a wild horse. He was extremely fast and instantly pulled away from the others. However, Bao Fan had not experienced such high-intensity exercise for a long time. Although he usually worked out and participated in marathons, he was old after all, and his physical strength was not as good as a professional player like Zhao Junhai. Bao Fan sprinted all the way and finally reached the bottom of the manor's wall. From the way he climbed over the wall, it could be seen that his stamina was running out. When he finally climbed over the wall, Zhao Junhai had already followed him. It was impossible for Bao Fan to escape, so he had to get rid of Zhao Junhai. So Bao Fan stopped and turned to face Zhao Junhai. Zhao Junhai thought that Bao Fan couldn't run anymore, so he panted and shouted, "Why don't you keep running?" Bao Fan was not the kind of person who would talk nonsense with Zhao Junhai. He directly rushed over without saying anything. Zhao Junhai was stunned. Wasn't he just seeking his own death? There was actually such a person? By the time he came back to his senses, Bao Fan had already arrived in front of him. Zhao Junhai was shocked. From Bao Fan's momentum and moves, he could tell that the man in front of him was not a simple character. Who said that this guy had no fighting power at all? Zhao Junhai couldn't care less about this at this time. He would look for revenge later. Now, he had to get rid of Bao Fan first. Since he dared to show off his slight skill in front of an expert, then he would not let him go back. Because Bao Fan's physical strength was overdrawn too quickly, maybe his footsteps were a little messy at the beginning, so these few consecutive punches did not seem to pose much of a threat to Zhao Junhai. Zhao Junhai just retreated slightly in a panic, trying his best to defend and stand firm. After a few moves, Zhao Junhai finally calmed down in the face of danger. He immediately changed his previous decline and counterattacked strongly, especially his footwork, which was a great threat to Bao Fan. Bao Fan seemed to be a little overwhelmed. After a few exchanges with Zhao Junhai, he did not gain any advantage at all and even suffered a lot of losses. Just when Zhao Junhai kicked Bao Fan's shoulder and made Bao Fan take a few steps back, Bao Fan finally stopped acting. He felt that he had recovered a little strength, so he turned around and ran again without hesitation, not giving Zhao Junhai a chance to attack again. Zhao Junhai stood there and directly swallowed the line that he had just prepared. "You are dead tonight." He cursed. "Damn you, are you kidding me?" Bao Fan was not stupid. If he continued to fight like this, even if he could defeat Zhao Junhai, it would be a waste of time. Zhao Junhai's companions were just behind him and would catch up with him soon. At that time, he would not be able to leave even if he wanted to. After Bao Fan escaped again, Zhao Junhai, who was behind him, had no choice but to continue chasing. He didn't believe that he couldn't catch up with this man tonight. Otherwise, they would definitely be scolded and punished after they went back for so long. In the manner, such a big movement finally alerted other people. The maids and servants had already rushed out. However, at this time, Liang Yu and Huang Jin had already chased out. They could not care about the maids and servants, and the maids and servants could not stop them. At this time, Boss Tang, who was in a coma, was also woken up by the servants. Boss Tang asked in a daze, "What happened? Why did the power go off?" The man in charge of the daily management of the manor replied, "Boss Tang, something big happened. Several people broke into our manor, cut off our circuit, and injured our security guards and bodyguards." Upon hearing this, Boss Tang was shocked and said, "What?" The man continued to explain, "It seems that they came for Boss Bao. Boss Bao is missing, and those strangers have also run away. We don't know what to do now." At this moment, Boss Tang was burning with anger. It did not occur to him that someone would dare to fight in his place. He immediately ordered, "Call the police first, and at the same time, call someone over. Then inform Boss Bao. No matter what, we must find Boss Bao." Everyone in the manor immediately took action. Not long after, the backup power was turned on again. Following that, the security guards who had been knocked out immediately went out together. At this time, Chang Baji was already on the way. At the same time, he informed many people. Those who were the nearest would rush over as soon as possible. Everything was a race against time. Hao Lei was seriously injured and hospitalized. Nothing could happen to Bao Fan. Things in Shanghai needed Bao Fan to manage the overall situation. After Qin Xing returned home, he went to bed early. Chang Baji called him twice in a row to wake him up. Fortunately, Qin Xing did not have the habit of turning off his phone. He was afraid that something important would happen during this period. After all, the whole situation was very chaotic now. Anything could happen, especially in Beijing. When Qin Xing saw that it was Chang Baji's call, he immediately got up and walked out of the bedroom with his phone. He was afraid that he would wake up Lin Su, who was sleeping soundly. Since Chang Baji could call him at this time, it was definitely not a small matter. Qin Xing could not help but feel a little worried. As expected, after he picked up the phone, Chang Baji told him directly that something had happened to Bao Fan. He was now leading people to Boss Tang's manor. He hoped that Qin Xing could use the official channel to find a solution there. Otherwise, he was afraid that Bao Fan might have already been in trouble by the time they arrived. To Qin Xing, this news was no different from a bolt from the blue. He could not care less about Wang Qingshui. He just needed to deal with it. However, if something happened to Bao Fan, then his plan in Shanghai would be completely paralyzed. Chang Baji and Bao Fan were now his right-hand men. Bao Fan was responsible for intelligence, communication, and resources. Chang Baji was mainly responsible for execution. If something happened to Bao Fan, then Qin Shing would really be at his wits' end. Even if the old man sent him another person, he could not be compared to Bao Fan. After all, Bao Fan had been in Shanghai for so many years. After Qin Shing hung up the phone, he had no choice but to trouble Xue Qinyan. When he thought that he had troubled Xue Qinyan so many times, Qin Shing really felt a little embarrassed. Even if they had a good relationship, there was nothing he could do. However, if he did not trouble Xue Qinyan, Qin Shing could only trouble Small Ant. Troubling Small Ant was equivalent to troubling Small Uncle's husband. By then, things would only get worse. After making sure, Qin Shing could only bite the bullet and dialed Xue Qinyan's number. After a long time, the phone was picked up. Xue Qinyan had obviously fallen asleep and was woken up by Qin Shing's call. Xue Qinyan on the other side of the phone was not angry because it was Qin Shing. If it was someone else, Xue Qinyan probably would not pick up the phone. After Qin Shing finished telling her what happened tonight, Xue Qinyan agreed without hesitation. She was more or less shocked. The Yan family was so unscrupulous now. They even dared to touch Bao Fan. They were really taking a risk out of desperation. After hanging up the phone, Xue Qinyan immediately contacted her friend to call the branch over there. They would send more police to support and search for Bao Fan. Qin Shing was also ready to go back to the bedroom to get dressed and rush over. He had already called Yang Dainiu and asked him to drive over now. When Qin Shing walked into the bedroom, Lin Su had already woken up. She was sitting on the bed in a daze. When she saw Qin Shing coming in, she was worried and said, "Honey, what happened?" Qin Shing walked over slowly and explained, "Something happened. I have to go out. I'm sorry to wake you up. Go back to sleep." He felt somewhat guilty and knew that Lin Su was very tired during this period. Lin Su did not say much. She just nodded and said, "Then be careful." Qin Shing kissed Lin Su's forehead gently. Then he quickly got dressed and went out. He did not dare to waste any time. He felt uneasy now. Anything could happen to anyone except Bao Fan. Bao Fan's accident affected the nerves of many people. Many of the Qin family's manpower in Shanghai were rushing to Boss Tang's manor in the suburbs. In addition, Boss Tang had mobilized the resources. It seemed that even if Huang Jinliang and you caught Bao Fan, it would be difficult for them to leave here safely. Because the noise was too big. It could be seen that no matter what they did in Shanghai, they had to be careful. No wonder it was difficult for them to find a chance, and finally they had to take action here. No wonder Qin Shing dared not to take action until Third Master Wu left Shanghai. Otherwise, if the noise was too big, it would be difficult for anyone to deal with it. Baidu search 081 Chinese Netyen. No advertising words. Chapter 741. That day, I sent out a chapter asking for a leave of absence. Because the normal chapters were not available to the readers, only the VIP chapters were available. However, even though it was a VIP chapter, you didn't have to pay crosscut coins to read it if you didn't have enough words. It was still a free chapter. No matter how big the commotion outside was, no matter how timely the reinforcements were, for Bao Fan, who was in danger, it was like water from afar, unless he could buy enough time. Fortunately, that was what Bao Fan did. He didn't fight him head-on. Zhao Junhai chased after him, and Liang Yu and Huang Jin also came out. The gap between them was getting smaller. Bao Fan felt that if he continued to run like this, he would be caught sooner or later, so he had to change his strategy. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to buy time. So, Bao Fan gave up the idea of running toward the main road. Based on his years of experience, he chose the village not far away. They were all independent courtyards. If he played hide and seek, it would be like entering a maze. No one would be able to find him. Even if he met one of them, he wouldn't have to worry about being taken down. He would still have a chance to fight back. Moreover, if he caused a bigger commotion, he might attract more passers-by, who could do anything to him. Bao Fan rushed in without hesitation. Zhao Junhai, who was behind him, was at a loss for a moment. He did not know whether he should rush in or not. Fortunately, Huang Jin arrived at this time. He frowned and said, "Why don't you chase after him? The information is wrong. Bao Fan isn't an ordinary character. He should be trained. He runs faster than a rabbit. I can't catch him at all. Besides, this is beyond the scope of our plan. What if we get exposed after we go in?" Zhao Junhai said rationally. Huang Jin didn't give him a chance and said, "Our goal is to kill him. As for what happens later, they will clean up their mess. It has nothing to do with us. At most, we can take the money and run away." Thinking of this, Zhao Junhai gritted his teeth and chased after Bao Fan. If Bao Fan ran far away, they wouldn't even have a choice. Soon, Liang Yu arrived with her two companions. Liang Yu said rationally, "You guys stay here and contact the outside. If anything happens, contact me immediately." The two companions looked at each other and didn't refuse. They let Liang Yu chase after them. None of them expected that tonight's plan would be disrupted like this. Now, they were led by the nose. This complicated village was built by farmers in the suburbs. They were basically 2- or 3-story villas with front and backyards. However, the walls were relatively high, and it was difficult to climb over without external help. Therefore, Bao Fan did not plan to do so. Right now, all he wanted to do was hide and seek while waiting for reinforcements to arrive. That was the best way. After Huang Jin and Zhao Junhai rushed in along Bao Fan's escape route, they split up to give chase. After Liang Yu saw them enter, she chose to go around in another direction to prevent Bao Fan from escaping from behind. At this moment, Bao Fan was like a rat with nowhere to go, while the other three were like cats waiting for a hare. They just didn't know if Bao Fan could escape. After Bao Fan went in, he kept going around until he was sure that there was no one behind him. Then he prepared to rest for a while and save enough strength to run again. Unfortunately, he had thrown away his phone in the fight just now. Otherwise, he could tell the others his specific location. After Bao Fan rested for less than a minute, he was discovered by Liang Yu, who was chasing from behind. When Liang Yu saw Bao Fan, her eyes lit up instantly. Finally, she found him. She rushed over without hesitation. Bao Fan didn't dare to fight at all. He quickly got up, turned around, and ran away. During this period, he passed by Zhao Junhai at a building entrance. Liang Yu and Huang Jin also met by chance. The two sides almost fought, and they separated after seeing that they were on the same side. If there was an omniscient view, from the sky above the farm, the escape route of these people was very interesting. Bao Fan was obviously more experienced. He had played this kind of maze game many times before, and he had also learned related psychology. He knew the choices and judgments that most people would make after entering such a strange environment. After a few minutes of chasing, Liang Yu and Bao Fan finally met again at a crossroad. Bao Fan couldn't change this kind of coincidence. This time, he couldn't escape at all. He could only fight Liang Yu, or else he wouldn't be able to leave. When Zhao Junhai and Liang Yu met just now, Zhao Junhai had already told Liang Yu that the intelligence was wrong. This Bao Fan was not simple. They had also fought just now, and Bao Fan was still hiding his strength. After meeting Bao Fan, Liang Yu rushed over without saying a word. Bao Fan didn't know who was opposite him. After all, they were wearing similar clothes. The only difference was that Liang Yu had a curvaceous figure. Anyone could tell that she was a woman. However, this time, Bao Fan wouldn't show mercy to the fairer sex. If he had any such thoughts, he might not even know how he died in the end. Liang Yu's advantage was that she was tall and agile. She could use many difficult and unexpected moves, making it impossible for people to guard against her. Her weakness was that she might be slightly weaker. This was the difference between men and women. Therefore, after Liang Yu came over, she directly forced Bao Fan to retreat with all kinds of dazzling moves. Her speed was as fast as lightning, and each of her moves went straight for Bao Fan's vital parts. At first, Bao Fan was a little flustered. He was kicked several times by Liang Yu's long legs, but then he figured out Liang Yu's rhythm and routine. When Liang Yu kicked again, Bao Fan mustered all his strength and punched the back of Liang Yu's leg, causing Liang Yu to almost fall. Liang Yu hurriedly threw a few punches at Bao Fan. Bao Fan suddenly grabbed her arm and directly pushed it against her chest. Bao Fan didn't even have time to feel Liang Yu's proud breasts. He directly pushed her back, followed by a kick on Liang Yu's shoulder, forcing her to take a few steps back. Liang Yu thought that Bao Fan was at most mediocre in martial arts, but she didn't expect Bao Fan to be so powerful. When she was about to adjust her rhythm and look for another opportunity to attack Bao Fan had already seen Huang Jin coming. He didn't dare to stay, let alone give Liang Yu a chance, so he turned around and ran out. This time, although he didn't let Liang Yu take advantage of him in the end, he suffered a lot in the early stage. There were some hard injuries on his shoulder and back. Liang Yu's rivet shoes were really domineering. Women really shouldn't be provoked. If he didn't take the risk to disrupt Liang Yu's rhythm at the end, it would be really difficult to deal with this woman. One was already a headache. If another one came, he really wouldn't be able to leave. Bao Fan quickly ran away. It was human nature to run away if you couldn't win. He couldn't stay here and wait for death. Huang Jin finally met Bao Fan. How could he let Bao Fan escape so easily? He directly accelerated and rushed to Bao Fan. Liang Yu and Zhao Junhai had already fought with Bao Fan, but both of them were fooled by Bao Fan's IQ and experience. Now, only Huang Jin, who was the most powerful, was left. Liang Yu didn't hesitate and immediately rushed out with Huang Jin. This time, the two of them would never let Bao Fan escape so easily. Zhao Junhai also rushed out from there. The three of them seemed to have a tacit understanding this time. At the same time, they pursued Bao Fan along three different paths. Obviously, they didn't want to give Bao Fan any chance. Bao Fan also realized how serious the consequences of fighting with Liang Yu just now were. At this time, there was no way to escape. Was he really going to die here? Behind this village was a river that was 7 or 8 meters wide. Now it was the summer rainy season, and the water was so deep that the bottom couldn't be seen. Bao Fan was now physically exhausted, and he was not familiar with the waterways here. It was too dangerous to jump in, and it was easy to be caught by them. However, at this time, Huang Jin, Liang Yu, and Zhao Junhai had already forced Bao Fan to the river. Bao Fan really had no choice. They also saw that Bao Fan didn't dare to jump into the river. What was the difference between that and walking into a trap? Zhao Junhai finally could shout unscrupulously, "Why don't you King run? Why don't you run? Which family's lackeys are they from? The Yen family or Third Master Wu?" Bao Fan really could not run anymore, but it did not stop him from mocking Huang Jin, Liang Yu, and the others. Liang Yu squinted and said, "You are going to die soon. Don't be so stubborn." Bao Fan said disapprovingly, "You can say such words when you kill me. Now is not the time yet." It was not that he had never experienced life and death. He had never been afraid of life and death. Only when he was not afraid of life and death would he not be afraid of it. Huang Jin was still silent. He still didn't like this kind of quarrel. He just walked toward Bao Fan step by step. In the end, he walked faster and faster. Intuition told Bao Fan that this man was very dangerous. He was definitely more powerful than the two people who had fought with him before. Bao Fan frowned tightly. How to choose? It was already the last critical moment. Obviously, he would definitely die if he fought with all his strength. It was a bit difficult to fight with one person, let alone 3 people now. One of them was especially dangerous. In that case, he could only jump into the river. He couldn't guarantee that he would take the risk to dive into the river bottom. He might be lucky to escape by taking advantage of the situation and using all his skills. But there was also a possibility that he would drown because of his physical strength. Or if he was caught by these 3 people, he would still die. But no matter what, at least he had a chance to live. So since he had made a choice, Bao Fan no longer hesitated. He smiled at the 3 people in front of him, turned around, and jumped directly into the river. Huang Jin, Liang Yu, and Zhao Juanhai's expressions changed. They didn't expect that this man would really jump into the river like this. After Zhao Junhai and Huang Jin came back to their senses, they didn't want to give up just like that. They were ready to jump into the river and chase after him. If he wanted to jump into the river, he could jump away. There was no way to escape. Today, even if he went to heaven or hell, they would catch him and bring him back to report. At this time, Liang Yu suddenly shouted, "Stop!" Huang Jin and Zhao Junhai looked back at Liang Yu in confusion, asking her what was going on. At this moment, Liang Yu frowned and explained, "The police are here, and there are many people chasing us here. If we don't leave now, we won't be able to leave." Hearing this, Huang Jin and Zhao Junhai were extremely annoyed. They were very unwilling to let Bao Fan escape just like that. But if they continued to chase him, they wouldn't be able to leave by then. After weighing the pros and cons, Huang Jin and Zhao Junhai could only give up. Even if they wanted to chase him, Liang Yu wouldn't chase after them. She would definitely abandon them without hesitation. Huang Jin's face was livid. Tonight was really embarrassing. In the end, they failed at the last step. Zhao Junhai sighed helplessly. The cooked duck flew away just like that. In this way, Bao Fan finally escaped from death. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.